crossover and just crossed him over. Absolutely.
Another victim to the crossovers. Cross him up and sit him down.
Time for the crossover, powered by Everlevel Concrete Repair in Omaha, everlevelconcrete.com.
Hey,
good morning, gentlemen.
how are you?
Good.
I am not surprised. So I'm going to be honest with you. I'm still a child. I don't look at the weather every morning or look at the weather like weekly
Never.
to see what's coming.
Wait, you're from Chicago.
Well, yeah, I mean,
you'd think that you'd be like, I wonder what the temperature is going to be today. It could be 12. It could be 40.
honestly, my entire life up until like a year ago, I lived at my home, like I lived at like the same house. Right. And so I would
that insulated you from weather?
No, I would walk down the stairs. I would look outside and I'd go, oh, it's raining. Oh, it's snowing. Oh, it looks windy. And I would
So you don't have windows at your apartment?
I don't. No.
Really?
You go to the door. Does the door looking out have a window?
So
You live in the gulag?
kind of. I actually live where a lot of Creighton students live. I live actually right next to the what seems like the entire bullpen of the Creighton baseball team.
All right, way to
You
go.
know? So I don't live in the gulag. But growing up,
Can we call the Creighton bullpen going forward the gulag?
That is a great idea. I will
Coming
pitch
out of the
that.
gulag.
Yep.
I will pitch that.
But they're nice guys, they hold the door open and, I give them, when I walk by somebody, you're going to get a head nod out of me every single time.
Sure.
Like you're not going to get a hi or you're not going to get a smile, but I'll give you a little nod, if you're a guy. If you're a girl, I just kind of keep my head down. I don't want to be a creep,
He's scared of
As
women.
a student,
Not really.
the baseball team was easily the most approachable,
By
relatable,
By
talking
far.
to
Just dudes.
that I just with like athletes in general.
The baseball team, when I went to Nebraska, so literally 2 years ago, they were awesome. They were a blast. Kyle Perry, dog. Ben Columbus, awesome dude. Brett Sears, like one of the better dudes to have a beer with. One of the better dudes to just talk to. That entire team was just they were a blast. That's a great take. They're awesome people.
I just
But anyway,
know off of my own anecdotal experience.
but
I love
anyway,
baseball.
all this to say, when I grew up, I would just walk down the stairs. I would look right out the window. I'd be like, oh, okay, whatever. And then, sometimes maybe I would open up the door, take a step out and come back in. Be like, all right, this is what we're dealing with.
Were you ever curious if the weather that you were watching in the exact moment would be different at moments later in the day?
No. And sometimes I would get
Harsh reality.
So if you decided you needed a raincoat and then 20 minutes later the rain was gone, you just had your raincoat?
Yes, I would get got. I'm just telling. I mean, there's no really
Or
efficient way around this.
Here's a theory. You love takes so much that you want to monopolize every take. And you think that looking at the weather prediction is a take.
Yeah.
And so you're like, I can't stand these guys. They have takes.
Exactly. They're bad at their job. I'm better at their job than they are. Exactly.
That's probably why you don't look at the weather.
Maybe. Also, too, I thought you were going to go down the path of the weather, it tells me what's going to happen, and I don't want to know what's going to happen because I want to take on what the day is going to be and see if that take is correct.
Yeah.
I want to go outside
That's
and be
another way
like,
to look at it.
I'd be like, you know what? My take today, I got a feeling it's probably going to rain around 4:00. I don't want to know about it, But when it happens, I want to be like, dude, I told you, I know what I'm doing.
So what we're learning is a self-proclaimed master of the futures does not look at the futures forecast.
No, futures, because it's not the futures. It's what's happening.
He doesn't want to be influenced by
No.
other
The
people's
futures
takes.
is you don't look like a few days out. You're not like, hey,
No,
it's going to be nice on Saturday.
I only looked at one weather report the entire week, and it was, what is Soldier Field going to be? That's honestly,
I know what it's going to be. In the nicest of weather, it's still going to look like trash on the field.
Yes, but
I'm going to guess brown.
The only
Auburn.
time,
Thinking white.
honestly, the only time I look at weather
Someone
reports is
hurt
for football
unnecessarily. So
You know what? That hasn't happened a whole lot this year.
it has been a surprisingly
honestly, it's been
Caleb
a tame,
Williams.
Soldier Field has staved off its reputation.
It really, it's been a tame turf here. It really
Maybe
has.
they'll stay.
We haven't snatched Saquon Barkley's ACLs. We haven't, taken away the future of Tariq Cohen. We've had a good year. Now, I do want to say, for how dumb, stupid, and just bad at his job Matt Eberflus was, he was like a a master of grass, like a master of turf. Like he was really big into turf science and whatnot.
What is with coaches named Matt and being a master of grass?
I don't know. He apparently like started giving the turf team at Soldier Field some recommendations on what different types of grass to grow and like, how to like
Zoysha.
like seriously. No. Like the mixture and stuff. So he had some talk about Mats with takes. He had a take on what the grass should look like and what the grass should be. They kind of adjusted.
He probably looked at Soldier Field and said, "This is wrong."
Yeah,
because it's historically horrible.
So if Matt Eberflus has done anything right, it's kind of influenced the turf of Soldier Field, so it's a little bit better. So there's a little fun fact.
Way to go, Flus!
Well, he's currently available. He could become the new groundskeeper.
You know what? I think Matt. You know how they say, he's not a good head coach, but he's a really good coordinator. He should just stay a coordinator. Matt Eberflus is a really bad head coach, but man, he's a good linebackers coach. He should just be a linebackers coach forever. Just do that. He's so bad, though, that he can't even be a coordinator.
I look forward to him ending up in some organization where they do well in spite of whatever it is that he does, and then he's back in the retread category.
Well, that's literally what's going to happen to Matt Nagy.
That's where the joke comes from.
You literally just described Matt Nagy. So here's where, by the way, this is where I got on weather, okay? So I don't really look at the weather or anything like this. Like, I don't really look at, like, the weather reports or anything. But I have takes on what winter is, okay? And I think that there are 6 stages of winter, all right? There's the initial winter 1, okay? Then it's followed up by the holidays. Then you have the holidays. It's kind of like, the weather is what the weather is, but like we're all in high spirits. We're all having a great time, Then after the holidays comes hell, all right? You're like, this sucks. We are like negative.
Have we skipped that stage so far?
So then we go to hell, and then the 4th stage is always false spring, okay? You get that like week and a half where it's like 50 degrees, it's 60 degrees. You're like, oh my God, this is awesome. Like I could wear shorts today. I could go and golf. I don't really have to like worry about what I'm wearing. And then after false spring, you're hit with winter number 2, where it's just like, you're kind of back. You're not in hell, but
I think you need to adjust your seasons a little bit.
Well, so here's the thing. We skipped hell this year. Typically,
you never skip it.
We skipped it.
It's waiting for you. We went a handbasket.
We went
I
right.
Think you just think we're 2 steps ahead of where we
actually
are.
Your system needs to be recalibrated.
I'm going to throw this out there. It's going to be 15 degrees for a high tomorrow,
right?
I know. That's what I'm saying. We're back into winter too.
Okay.
After like seeing the snow, because I know the last couple of days have been awesome. But I'm like,
winter 2 the holiday season?
No, winter 2 is now. Winter 2, we skipped hell.
You said winter 1, and then you said holiday
winter
season.
1 begins December 1st. Then it goes to the holidays.
Also,
that's the stage. That's not a...
Yeah. Also, fake spring is not even eligible to hit until like late February.
Yeah.
I feel like we got hit with fake spring.
No, there was 2 days where it was 58. Like, that's just still winter.
That's just Nebraska.
Yeah.
I think we skipped hell, though.
We are not. No, hell is coming. Hell is coming. It's called February.
I always thought that the worst months in Nebraska the time I've been here.
Late January, February.
Is January.
Late January, February.
Early January
My fear
was bad
is
last year.
the way that the weather seems to have been moving is it's like going to snake its way into March.
Yep.
And that's depressing. Because by March, you're just ready for anything that hasn't been what you had.
I remember one year I was walking to a final, I believe, and it was May 8th, and it was snowing. And I was like, awesome. This is great.
I don't think you said those words.
Well, I probably said it a little sarcastically, awesome. This is great. I probably said other words.
I'm guessing you said the other words.
Yeah, probably.
Would you consider yourself as somebody like eventually you want to get the hell out of winter or hell out of the cold?
I ask myself routinely why we choose to put up with this garbage. Yeah. But I don't think like I'm not sitting here like I need to move to Arizona today. Sure. I'm just jealous of the people who are there. I like it here.
Okay.
I like it here. It's cheap.
See, you've always struck me as
great. It's a great way to live. Everybody's really nice.
It is true.
It
is true.
I like the Jays.
I'll tell you right now. I do miss my friends out in the various places that they live, but then they tell me what they have to pay for rent compared to what I have to pay for rent. And then they tell me how much gas costs. And I'm like, I love Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah, I like it here.
My parents' gulags are nice here.
Yeah, they are.
It only looks like Russia a couple weeks out of the year.
Exactly. Talk to our boy Karen about that.
I know he's been having a banner week. Just Karen's been popping up everywhere on my feed. I love Karen.
Well, yeah, he had the bullseyes on the
He did.
where Ed Cooley was standing. That was pretty good. Pretty good.
I was scrolling Facebook, and one of those aggregator accounts for just sports in general. It wasn't local sports. Featured a tweet from Karen. It was
Guys everywhere.
The back of a podcast guest, and like, oh, guess who we got this week? And it was Karen said Clay Matthews, and it was clearly just a muscular woman.
Good one.
Have you guys seen these Facebook posts that are like fake, but like all your aunts and uncles and grandparents are falling for them?
Sam sent us one yesterday.
Yeah, we kind of made a bit out of it.
They're awesome.
We would check in quite a lot with the AI Facebook posts, and we did get one from our dear friend Sam yesterday. I'll go back and I'll find it. But it was regarding the Packers, I believe.
Yeah, like LaFleur snapped or something and hit a child at the airport or something.
Yeah, something like horrible.
There was the ones of there were some pretty great Nebraska athlete ones about the athletes' lives and whatnot, and just people being like, "Oh my God, congratulations!"
Oh yeah, they do like, well, this athlete gave somebody $1 million.
Yeah, I hate these so much.
They're so bad.
I see the disdain on your face.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrendous. We live in a society where media literacy couldn't be lower.
Sure.
And now we have morons who believe everything they read. They can't take the 3 seconds to just like, hey, can I weigh this against any actual news source?
Sure.
No, I'm just going to believe this random Facebook page that I had never heard of.
But you're not talking about morons, more so that you're talking about people who are illiterate with the internet, who might be a little bit older because they didn't grow up with it.
No,
I don't think
they're morons.
I don't think my generation is.
It's not just young. It's not just old.
Yeah,
people
you're completely wrong.
Really?
Oh yeah. It's
There are
all
people
of all ages.
Really?
Yeah.
How can you be so dumb and
Great
look
question.
at that and be like, you believe that?
Because people believe things.
I want to believe that Dylan Raiola donated $1 million to the Children's Hospital out of the kindness of his heart.
I don't know. I don't think
I wanted to believe that Matt Albamassa donated money to Andrew Cuomo's campain. That one got me earlier this week because I didn't look close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't got, but the problem is that my friends love finding them and then putting them in our group chat.
Thousands of Nebraska basketball fans thought Brendan Frager was suspended by the conference. Or Braden Frager.
Yeah.
Wow.
Brendan Fraser.
I didn't know that this was that big of a problem.
Finger scissors.
Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, Brendan Fraser was suspended by
The Whale.
That's one of the movies.
That's what that Creighton should sign him. They need a big presence down low.
The Whale.
He would bring the presents.
Indeed.
I didn't know that people. I'm sorry for making jokes about it because I didn't know that people were actually like, this is an actual problem that people were falling
your friends.
Oh, no,
in your
people
life
are
falling for this every day.
Yeah, people are truly idiots, but it's a lot more than usual.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more every single day.
I like how it just seems like on Twitter there's a lot of people who are just anti-AI. Now we call it AI slop, you know?
Yes.
I'm a big fan of that. The funny thing is that the people who fall for like the polar bear videos on Twitter, where it's like people are rescuing polar bears and bringing them back to their mothers, even though that those people don't know that polar bears are like the only animal that think that humans are food and will actively go and hunt you and kill you.
Mm-hmm.
The AI videos of rams bouncing off of vehicles and then crashing through doors of houses.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of good AI traffic cams. Yeah. Those have been good lately.
I've gotten got by those.
I will watch a big giant car pile up anywhere without any circumstance whatsoever.
See, is that AI or is that just entertainment?
Well, it's both.
Yeah,
it's both. But it proves no harm to anyone because like I'm not sharing it. I just watch it for 5 seconds and then stop.
We should check with Brunts on Monday because famously his favorite thing in the entire world is
police chases.
The police chases.
Mm-hmm.
How is he guarding himself against the AI police chases that are
question.
coming? Great. These are the things that we need to figure out.
Speaking about police chases, so this was I don't always listen to Bill Simmons. Like I sometimes listen to Bill Simmons, but he had a great podcasting thing talking about OJ, right, and whatnot, and like what would we cut away from?
Did you see this take yesterday?
No.
It's so good.
It's such a Bill Simmons take. He's one of the greatest
for some-
podcasters ever.
For some reason, they were, I don't know the context, but like the 20 seconds I heard, it sounded like he was trying to make the case of who would stop the world like OJ did in current society if they had done what OJ did.
Okay.
Yeah. and it's a great topic to have.
And I think the answer is everyone.
I think a lot of people.
Well,
Travis Kelce.
So here's my
That's a
oh
good
my
one.
God. So here's my thing though. I was not alive for OJ. Okay. I've only been told how thrilling it was.
But you
and
did
how-
watch the chase at 1620 the house.
At 1620 the house, like that was part of the fun where it's like we're gonna educate Matt on OJ. Like Matt,
Did you watch the 30 for
That's
30?
a farcical call.
Bubba boy.
Yeah, we watched that. No, I didn't. I did not. No. I did watch the Cuba Gooding Jr.
The show.
Yeah, the show.
Yeah. Good show.
It's a great show. But I posed this question to you two, like from my generation of person who was not alive for OJ, like what would be the equivalent for me and OJ? Like what would
I don't
be
know
the-
that Happer. I barely have memories of OJ. And
I
they're
was like a month
associated-
old.
Really?
Like,
Yeah.
Whoa.
No. I was it was 94, right?
yeah,
I was
94.
2 years old.
I was locked in. I didn't understand a word of it. I was in 4th grade.
Yeah, I mean, my reaction to all of it was that my dad, we were on vacation and he didn't want to leave the hotel room because he wanted to watch the coverage of this. And we wanted to go to Worlds of Fun. And, eventually we won out because you're on vacation. But yeah, I mean, that's as it's going on, that's my knowledge of it. And then, as a kid, you learn that multiple people have been killed.
Sure.
And that's like, oh, wow. I didn't know who OJ was in
Sure.
terms of as a football player.
Yeah, so I guess your modern day
I've
OJ,
only known him as a, alleged murderer.
Brady. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or just murderer.
Would it really be Brady? That'd be
It's
wild.
probably not quite as Brady's probably too big of a deal.
That's what I thought. Because somebody told me Brady. Someone writes in the chat Strahan.
Oh,
But
good
I-
one. Yeah.
Really?
Strahan's a good one. That's a good
feels right.
comparison.
Yeah.
It's got to be someone who's now cross-branded into being more of a personality and less than just a football player.
Eli Manning.
Well, isn't that what Simmons said?
Oh, is that what Simmons
I
said?
think it's what he said at the end of the take. Yeah.
I think Strahan's maybe the best.
Maybe this guy on the TV right here, actually.
Because not only do you have to
Cam?
cross over
Cam.
into TV, but you have to be like beloved.
People need to
in
know
a
who
way.
you are
Yeah.
beyond just being a football player.
I think Cam Newton might be our answer.
Yeah, but Cam Newton is always
Like the Travis Kelce is a good one too.
Travis Kelce would be, especially the
Or Jason Kelce if it needs to be a currently.
Oh God,
non-football
I don't want to think about that because his wife is great.
Travis,
I don't wanna-
to be wife is
That
Let's
is
just
so
sit-
like. Why do you have an opinion on his wife?
What? She's a podcaster, and
Why are you listening to her podcast?
No, because she comes on New Heights and she's cool.
Oh, okay.
And when she comes on the New Heights podcast and she's a cool guest and she's funny.
How do you
and my
feel
mom
about
loves her.
Donna Kelce?
That's
Do
fine.
you watch
She's
the
fine.
Traders?
But I think Kylie Kelsey's
My
cool as
wife
hell.
does.
I just I'm baffled because I just don't exist in this world where I care about the
Sure.
Kelce universe at
Sure.
all.
Demi
Like,
Lovato,
at
I'm not
all.
going to lie this
I listen to the New Heights podcast. I listened to their recent interview with James Winston. It was great.
Jameis.
Yeah, it was an awesome interview.
He could be someone, even though he's not.
Oh, come on.
I mean, Heisman winner.
No, but now I'm now in the brain of like I don't want that to happen to James.
Yeah, you don't want that to happen to the dead
No, that's
people,
good.
man.
That's good. That's
Why are
exactly.
you thinking about the athlete? Think about the waiter and the girlfriend that are dead.
That's right.
And people loved OJ. You know,
Yeah.
you have to
And
think
that's
about that.
why
too.
the Goldman family is so mad because no one ever thinks about them. It's
agree.
people like you that are always
No,
like, oh, I feel
I'm
bad
not.
about the athlete, the
I'm
guy
not-
that's still
wait,
living.
I don't make this. I'm
Not
pro
anymore.
OJ. I'm not pro OJ.
No, you're anti feeling bad for the victim. That's what you are.
That is crazy. That is a wild.
Not
spin
based on
zone.
what you're saying.
It's a wild.
You
spin
feel
zone.
bad for
No,
Kylie
in the
Kelsey,
hypothet. No,
not the
What do you think?
dead
Kylie
people.
Kelsey would be the one who unfortunately
She
would be
the
murdered.
victim in this.
She would be the
situation.
victim
Well,
of the situation.
Yes, in the sense that they would have to get divorced, and then Marcus Allen would need to get involved in everything else.
That's the part people forget.
Yeah, people
That-
do forget.
Having not known that, that was like when the whole Made in America thing came out.
Yeah.
I was just like,
What?
holy hell.
Yeah.
They totally changed
Let's
how
pick at
I
that.
thought about a lot of things
Uh-huh.
in that regard.
Man. So yeah, I think I don't know. We came up with a few things there.
Yeah, that's good.
A few answers.
That was good. No, that was good to get us to 10:15.
I did see Simmons' take
Got
though.
3 minutes.
Yeah. I will never forget the Bill Simmons story of being in Acapulco for a wedding, and they got lost, and it was 1980, so they didn't have a GPS, and they were like driving around, and they were going down one road, and it was a dark road, and Bill Simmons' mother goes, "No, don't go down that road. There's something about that road. Like, don't go down."
This
And
is
so
about
they-
his house being haunted.
Yeah, no.
He tells this story like once a week.
Yeah, but
He
it
goes,
starts. The whole thing came up when he was explaining to someone that his house is actually haunted because he believes in spirits and he can sense the spirits.
Yes.
And they're like, "How do you have this?" And then he went into the story about his mom
well,
and the road.
Well, this one that he was saying in particularly was, I don't want to go down that road. And he goes, "That's how I feel about Paul George and the Philadelphia 76ers."
Right.
That was a great one. That was an all-timer.
He is one of one.
What was the one that went viral relatively recently from him? Not the OJ one that just happened, but there was another Bill Simmons take. Oh yeah, they did on the rewatchables. They did the top
50, the top 50 most
whatever
rewatchable movies. Yeah.
since 2000.
Yeah.
And
His number one.
the clip that went viral was him saying number 16, Limitless.
Yes.
And
He was like, bleep you. I don't care. This is my list.
Which
I
is
want Limitless.
perfect. I mean, it's so
Well, do you know what his
perfect.
number one was?
No.
The Devil Wears
Prada.
Prada.
Yeah.
The Devil Wears
I did
Prada.
see
He's like, it's great for the family, like anybody can walk in and just watch
And
it.
to be clear,
He's-
I love Limitless. I just love that he said it and didn't make it like an actual list. He made it his list,
Well,
which is why Bill Simmons is great.
There's a guy who does a great Bill Simmons impression, and he came up
Danny
with one
something.
one of the best Bill Simmons impressions was Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry, and he was doing his impression of Bill. He's like, yeah, he gave Steph Curry is giving Jimmy Butler the Maggie Simpson wheel. Like Jimmy Butler thinks he's driving the car, and he thinks like he's in control, and it's like here's the Maggie Simpson wheel. Wow, Golden State Warriors, they're actually being driven by Steph
yeah,
Curry.
I've seen that guy.
That's my best Bill. It's not a good one.
All right.
It's
You're
not
working
bad.
on when you get to talk to Frank when he's not on your show and he's on the morning show.
Is that
you
true? Is that
can-
what's happening?
He could be on both.
I would love to be to talk to
Shared
Frank.
custody.
You should ask him how to get better at impressions.
Yes, that would be a great question that I'm sure he wouldn't be annoyed about.
It
I don't
seems
know.
like
I don't know
something
what
that he doesn't
like. I
get
don't know what
asked.
Frank. Like, I'm afraid. Like, when I interview Frank Caliendo, like, number one, I'm a very big fan, and I can't be overbearing and be a nerd about it because I think that will be
Good luck.
like off brand. Thank you, appreciate it. Because I feel like that would be off putting for him. But then I also don't want to
I feel like you're already overthinking it.
Yep.
But I also don't want to like make him a jukebox and be like, do this or do that. Or
He
like,
just does it by himself.
I know. So like I gotta.
That's
gotta
why
let
I think
that
you could
happen.
absolutely ask him about himself in that regard. Like, how did you get better at impressions?
Yeah. Like,
Well, I already know the answer.
You know
So
what you
what
should
he
do?
what he does is that he actually studies like the mouth of like the person that he's trying to impersonate, and so then he just
Here's what you
follows
should do.
their. He has a video on it that I've seen.
here's what you should do with Frank. You have 2 wheels. All right. One wheel is a list of people.
Oh, okay.
The other wheel is a list of questions. All right.
All right.
And so you spin the one wheel,
Spinning,
it lands
spinning,
on the
spinning.
question. What's your favorite? What's your order from your favorite Chinese restaurant? And then
Spin.
Stephen A.
Land.
Smith.
Yeah.
And then Stephen A. Smith has to answer that question.
See what I would do is
Well,
I would
tell you this.
I would
I would get the compound chicken.
because
Okay.
it is the most spectacular,
You know.
incredulous, and I'm a personal friend of
Scrupulous.
egg rolls.
Scrumptiddlyumptious.
You should leave the impression.
Exactly.
I'd probably
That's
pick
what you should do, though.
I would probably pick my
Free
favorite
advice.
Frank impressions, and I would put that on one of the wheels. And I would tell him that I was like, these are my favorite ones that you do. Jim Rome would be up there. Phenomenal,
Mhm.
stupendous.
Dude, are you going to put John Bishop on the wheel?
He actually does a pretty good
Did a great job.
job.
Bishop.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like now he's kind of gone into the actor realm a little bit. Like he's gone into the Ruffalo and RDJ and everything like that. Like I just prefer his sport ones. I don't really need I don't really need actors. I don't need George W.
Because you
Bush.
haven't seen movies.
Yeah.
No,
I was
stop
just
that.
going to say, because you only know the quotes.
Spark Notes movies, Matt.
Yeah. Spark
Low
Notes,
key,
Matt.
yeah. It's
Spark
kind
Notes,
of
Matt.
it's kind of embarrassing. My
Cliff
my-
Notes, McMaster.
My roommate loves movies, and he heard all about that today, and he agreed with you, dude. He was like, "You're such a
Facts.
fraud." He's like, and he wanted, like, yesterday there weren't really any sports on. Like, I just had the Blackhawks on, and he wanted to watch a new movie, and I was like, I just want to watch an old one. I just want to watch
Of course.
what I've seen before. And he was just like, we are never going to advance and watch new movies.
No.
Like, he's like, you say
You're
that
ruining it.
he goes, you say that you want to, like, you say that you want to watch new movies and you want to learn more. I don't believe you.
Fraud.
That reminds me. Last night I watched Speed.
Thanks.
Oh, what a movie.
Is that the one with the bus?
Wild.
Yeah, have
Cat.
you Spark Notes that one?
Yeah, it's with Tom Cruise and
No.
or who's it with?
Try again.
Keanu Reeves
You got it.
and
Sandy B.
the
America's
the bus.
sweetheart.
The bus can't go under a certain miles
55
per
miles
hour,
per hour.
or
right.
it's going to blow up.
Exactly.
And so they got to keep running around town to figure out how they can defuse the bomb, right?
Mhm.
But they also can't, and I'm sure they jump over a bridge or something
They
like
do,
that.
they do.
Yeah.
Josh, in honor
There
of
you go,
Happer and
Spark
Shaver
Notes.
2, why didn't you watch Speed 2? Clearly the better of the two movies.
I thought about it afterwards. Decided to flip it over to RoboCop. though.
That's a Josh movie night if I've ever heard one.
RoboCop is better than people will ever give it credit.
Delightful trash.
Yeah.
Take. Okay. Well,
Great.
enjoy your afternoon. Make sure you look at the weather before you leave.
Yeah, I was just trying to get to my theory on winter that you two just immediately shut down.
No, I
and
think
told
you're
me I
on the
was
right
wrong.
track. I just think you are.
We'll
You
tweet.
think we're further along than we actually
I
are.
think I
Yeah. You skipped a couple
well
seasons.
because I think we're out of order. Like, I think hell came a little later this year.
Yeah, I don't even think we're in that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
We're just getting out of your holidays.
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoot, man. I was getting really excited. I thought we were gonna blaze right through winter.
Impossible.
Anything's possible. That's the crossover, powered by Everlevel Concrete Repair in Omaha at everlevelconcrete.com. Middays with Matt is up next.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
I have a lot of things I want to get off my chest.
That's an absolutely horse crap call. Make room for Daddy. But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
Chicago is.
This is Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Middays with Matt here on 1620 The Zone. Matt McMaster, as always, joined by Josh Odson on a Football Friday here. A ton to talk about. The show is over, Josh. The show's done.
Oh, great.
We're done.
I'll go back to the office, knock a couple things out. I'll be home by lunch.
We gotta go ahead. We gotta take some headshots, and then we can go home. I mean, it's over. And what I mean by that is we got a lot to talk about. The NFC AFC Divisional Playoff rounds are this weekend. 2 games tomorrow, 2 games on Sunday. We will be doing roughly a game an hour. We're not gonna go ahead and do like a 1 segment 4 game thing. We're gonna sprinkle it throughout the show. All these matchups this week, Josh Hodson, they're juicy. These are juicy playoff matchups. They are. You have rematches between the Seahawks and the 49ers. You have an interesting new showdown between the Rams and the Bears. You have 2 very good defenses going at it between the Houston Texans and the New England Patriots. And then you have the weird, I don't want to call it weird, but like
the Haley Bowl,
the Denver Broncos versus just basically Josh Allen. Like that's what it's come down to. You go ahead, you look at that matchup, and we'll talk about that matchup later. You're like, all right, Denver has all of the matchup advantages and does all the things well that the Bills do bad, but the Bills have Josh Allen. And so we will talk all about that throughout the show. We are going to talk about California way too much today. Way too
California.
Much. We're going to talk about Los Angeles, California.
Okay.
We're going to talk about Southern California. We're actually going to talk about Los Angeles, California in 2 instances. One in football and one in baseball, because Kyle Tucker and the Los Angeles Dodgers have kind of broken baseball.
Boo. I don't care for those guys.
You don't want to talk about it? You don't want to talk about Kyle Tucker and the Dodgers?
We should talk about it, but
I have some takes. I have some takes on that. I think a lot of today will be more of an informational episode than it is a take episode. I have some opinions on Kyle Tucker and the Dodgers, because part of me hates it. Part of me kind of wishes I rooted for the Dodgers. So we'll talk about that as the show goes on. Hey, it's a basketball weekend too. Creighton basketball plays tonight against Providence on the road at the Amp. 5:30 tip-off. I believe Blue Jay shoot-around with Austin Jacobson will begin at, 4:30, I believe?
It's not on today.
Oh, no, we're going straight into it, are we?
USC takes the priority.
With Mike Stibbs, by the way.
Hello.
He will be filling in for John Bishop. So, yeah, that'll just go in straight through to the game. But the reason why I brought up Blue Jay shoot-around was because Austin Jacobson will be on the show today at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, he's free to join us since he won't be on this afternoon.
Austin is going to come on, and we're going to have a little high school sport flavor here on Middays with Matt every Friday. Austin is one of the best reporters when it comes to high school sports, going to high school basketball games, high school football games, going to girls basketball, going to boys basketball, covers a little bit of wrestling too. So just to bring a little bit of high school sport flavor to the show every Friday, Austin Jacobson will be joining us at 1 o'clock to go ahead and, do a quick little 10 to 15 minute convo on some high school sports happening in and around the metro, plus just the state of Nebraska in general. We'll also be joined today at 11:30 by Brian Christopherson
BC
of 247 Sports, because we have to talk about Mike Ekeler for the 3rd day in a row. This has turned,
just do it. Just do it. Tired of waiting for this punk. Just go.
I don't know what's
just happening.
Because it turned into, this might be a thing, which we didn't talk about it when it first came out, because I was like, man, kind of pie in the sky. I don't think it's going to happen. He's just we'll just give, Nebraska will just give him more money and he'll sign. Then it turned into, no. there's a world where this is going to happen. And now it's flipped to, that's probably going to happen. So we will talk more about that. We'll talk about it with BC. Then we'll talk about it between just us. And then Nebraska basketball plays Northwestern basketball tomorrow on the road. It's one of those things that's one of those games, Josh, where I'm like, I'm so glad I don't have to like read a preview or like go ahead and watch like film on Oregon basketball or anything like that, or try and catch up with their season, because I'm one of the sickos who actually watches Northwestern. So I could probably, this is one of those instances where I might be the lead source of what you can expect on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have, for whatever
great
reason,
for the show.
watched this team play Virginia and South Carolina
That's
and Butler.
disgusting. You sicken me.
I know I sicken you. I sicken a lot of people with my.
Don't get me wrong, it's great for the show, and I'm glad that you're thriving, but
you
sicken me.
I grew up loving the Cats. There are very few times that the Cats have loved me back. This year they are not loving anybody back. They're young though. The Cats are in their we'll talk about it later, but they're kind of in their stage of like, they have way too many young players and they know that they're going to be bad and they don't know how to play basketball, but they might end up being good if they all stick together in 4 years. So
they're
that's
kittens.
kind of, yeah, they're great phrase, Josh Onson. They are the Northwestern Kittens this year. So we'll talk about Nebraska basketball. We'll talk about Creighton basketball. Austin Jacobson at 1, Brian Christopherson at 11:30. Talk a little bit of Mike Ekeler, the divisional playoff rounds. Kyle Tucker going to the Dodgers. There's also just there's a bunch of sports going on. Shout out to Nebraska women's basketball. They lost yesterday. Tough one to Michigan.
Do it.
Yeah, it's a tough loss. Number 15, Michigan State. Still, Nebraska women's basketball still having a really, really good year. We'll talk about Cale Jacobson. Was at the podium. That guy feels like every time he talks, he's going to be a head coach one day. I mean, he is super smart. I think that's when he gets on the podium, you realize that's probably one of the reasons that he plays a lot of basketball, because he just knows a ton about the sports. We'll talk about Cale. We'll talk about Fred. We'll talk about Nick Martinelli, who Fred Hoiberg's description of the Northwestern Wildcats forward, who's actually leading the country in scoring. He's just weird. He's just so weird. It's just how he plays is weird. Very accurate. Somebody who's watched him play for the last 3 seasons, that is a very good way of putting it. So we got a ton to talk about, a bunch of other little just sport tidbits here and there to drop, and we'll also be keeping up with, as always, the breaking news that comes throughout the morning. So, like I said, I mean, the show's not over, but the show's kind of over. It's just we got a lot planned for you. It's going to be a ton of fun.
Feels pretty over.
No, don't go anywhere. Nobody leave.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody leave. Don't tell the listeners to leave, Josh. Why would you do that?
Everybody come back at 5 for pregame with John Bishop. Here's some static tones.
Did you get that? Should we read the email of the person who gave us suggestions on bits that we should do for the show?
Can.
Here's my one thing. We appreciate the email and we appreciate the ideas. The problem is though, is that you can't really plan bits. You can't.
It is better when they come up organically.
So I feel like when you go ahead and you email us and you tell us, hey, these are the bits you should have, I feel like that eliminates the bits immediately. Because we kind of got to ease into it,
We'll find our bits.
Is that the official statement coming from the desk of Josh Odson?
That's right.
It's an official statement coming from Middays with Matt. Do not worry. We will find the bits, or the bits might find us. I kind of prefer it that way.
You gotta let the bits come to you.
Charles writes in the YouTube chat, grunt the bit ideas.
Okay.
That might be a good bit.
A little of the old, a little of the new. You put them together. Yeah.
Every week we come to the table with, all right, these should be our new bits. And then you just grunt them. Do we have see, that's another thing too. I've never really had the power before to like go ahead and just click on the wall and do like, I've never had like, this is my favorite one by far, but this one, like I was planning on hitting this one when we talk about Mike Ekeler.
Oh no! Disaster!
It is a disaster. How about this one?
God! Touchdown! I can't believe it!
Neither can I. They gave me my own show. It was probably a mistake, but don't go anywhere. We got a good one for you here on 1620 The Zone. Middays with Matt officially picks up next.
Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Will?
When I was 50, my whole life fell apart. I lost my job, I lost my wife, I lost the house, I lost pretty much everything except for my life. When the IRS came calling, I just didn't have it in me. I felt like Wile E. Coyote, just waiting for that IRS anvil to drop.
Then Will found tax relief advocates.
I heard their advertisement on the radio, I wrote down the number, and I made the call that changed everything. The IRS gave me a bill for $40,000. Tax Relief Advocates got that down to $3,200. I've paid 9 cents on the dollar. Now that's a great deal in anybody's book.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Will did and call TRA for a consultation.
But for me, the real win is I got my life back.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-488-2859. 800-488-2859. That's 800-488-2859.
Now, back to Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Big weekend for Husker sports, like we mentioned earlier. The Huskers, the Nebraska men's basketball team, will go on the road tomorrow to play the Northwestern Wildcats. The Huskers, if you didn't know already, maybe we're breaking news here. They're 17-0. They haven't lost a basketball game this season. They've won 21 straight games, dating all the way back to last season. To the Crown. Did we forget about the Crown? Did anyone forget about the Crown?
People do not forget.
People will never forget about the Crown. Still hang the banner, by the way. I've put it somewhere. I actually believe that you won an off-season or a postseason tournament. You know, you don't have to be embarrassed by it. And also, too, the Crown is probably going to become like, in the next couple of years, the premier postseason tournament. I don't care. It's not a take to be had just because Nebraska basketball is awesome this year. 3:00 tomorrow against Northwestern. That'll be on the Big Ten Network. Also, on the Big Ten Network tonight at 8:00, Husker Wrestling will go ahead on the road to take on Minnesota. Number 6 Husker Wrestling versus number 8 Minnesota. That'll be on the Big Ten Network. Big duel for the Huskers. AJ Ferrari, who was pulled over and then later arrested because he had a warrant, an outstanding warrant in Texas, is currently on the projected lineup for wrestling tonight on Huskers.com. Him and Cade Ziola. I'm sorry, I don't really follow Husker wrestling. I apologize if I
seemed like you were doing a good job.
Well, I don't know if I butchered his last name or not, but I did see on Instagram that Ferrari is on the road with the team right now. So I guess they resolved whatever they needed to resolve, and then he could potentially be wrestling tonight in a pretty big duel between Minnesota wrestling. All right, let's talk about some of the breaking news from yesterday. Oh, I forgot that I never got back to the StreamYard. I apologize, Josh Hodson.
You're okay.
That is bad. That is bad work from me. But Kyle Tucker goes ahead and signs with the Los Angeles Dodgers yesterday for a groundbreaking, basically $60 million a year deal on Spock Track. Everybody loves Spock Track. He's going to make $57 million this season. Mixed emotions, I think, from a standpoint or from my standpoint. Okay, here's why I have mixed emotions about it. A lot of people are pissed off. Okay, a lot of people are very mad about this. The Los Angeles Dodgers, who are already spending a ton of money on players from last season to this season, they're going to go ahead and they signed Edwin Diaz. And they went ahead and they signed Kyle Tucker. And now they're spending $413 million on players this season. And people are like, there's no skill to it. There's no strategy to it. They just have the most amount of money and they're willing to spend the most amount of money. And it just seems like people are very upset with the fact that the success that their team might have this season is going to be veiled by, well, doesn't really matter because the Dodgers are probably going to win the World Series anyway. Like that's kind of what the attitude on the year is going to be. It's all right, great, you won 98 games, or great, you won, 93 games. It doesn't really matter because you're probably going to run into the Dodgers, and because they're just willing to spend more money than you, they're going to beat you. And I get why people are upset about that. And by the way, I agree with them. Kind of does suck that it's just, like the Dodgers are just have more money than you, and they're just willing to spend it more, and there's really nothing you could do about it. And they haven't really done anything skillful other than have deep pockets and not be afraid to use those deep pockets. But I also do kind of respect it, because if you follow pro sports and you have pro sport, like you are a fan of pro sport teams, you very well know that there are teams who are in it to win it. There are teams every single season, they walk in and they go, we want to win the world title. We want to win the Super Bowl. We want to win the World Series. We want to win the Stanley Cup. What do we have to do to get the Larry O'Brien trophy into our trophy case? We're going to go ahead and we're going to do that. And then there very much are teams, and it's not a majority. These teams are in the minority, but they're very much our teams who don't really look at it that way. They really just look at it as, how do we get the money in your pocket into our pocket? Yeah, we're gonna go and we're gonna do our due diligence. Don't get us wrong. We're gonna scout players and we're gonna sign players and we're gonna be competitive. But as long we can do all that as long as we're making money back. Okay, as long as we are getting richer. And let me tell you something right now. Growing up where I grew up and rooting for the teams that I root for, there are more teams in that area who are doing that than you think. And I'm sure that if you have 4 pro sports teams that you root for, at least one of them probably, you agree that, hey, one of those teams probably has that mindset of, yeah, we're gonna try and win. Don't get us wrong. It's sports, it's competition. But above all else, we want to get the money in our pocket. I respect the Dodgers for being like, screw that. Screw that. We don't care. We want to win. We're in it. We're in it for rings, man. We're in it for trophies, man. We're in it for glory, man. If you don't like it, what are you going to do about it? You can do the same. You can go and spend a ton of money. You can go and sign these agents or these free agents. You can go ahead and put down a little coin. We're just going to go. We're just going to do it better than you. We're going to sacrifice that. We're willing to sacrifice something that you're not willing to. And because you're not willing to do it, we're going to go ahead and win baseball games. We're going to go ahead and win championships. I kind of respect that. I don't necessarily agree with the notion that, like, I just hate that there's a lack of skill in it. There's just a lack of skill of within the sport of like, yeah, we just have more money and we're going to poach all the players and we're going to take everything. Like, I love the one thing I love about baseball is that, yeah, we've been dealing with this, not having a salary cap thing forever. I mean, literally forever. But you still have small market teams who win World Series because they're just better at their jobs. They're better at evaluating. They're better at developing. They know what they're doing. There's a ton of skill in what the St. Louis Cardinals accomplished in the 2000s. There's a ton of skill in what the Kansas City Royals accomplished in 2015. There's a ton of skill in what the Tampa Bay Rays do year in and year out with going ahead and, not spending as much money, but really hammering in their evaluations and development and creating good baseball teams. I think that in a way is a beautiful thing about baseball. The fact that you don't need to have the most amount of money possible, and you could still be competitive, and you still can go out and win playoff games and playoff series and even World Series. And that's not happening in LA. They're not doing that. They're willing to just sign the guys and just pay people way more money. And it's one of those things where I think both sides of the argument can be true. You can go ahead and look at it and say, nah, this is bad for the sport. And, probably not great that we're entering the year and we got a team that here's a stat for you, right? Shohei Ohtani and Kyle Tucker combined this season are going to make $106 million. That's two players. Those two players are going to get paid more than the entirety of the Miami Marlins roster. If you add in Blake Snell, those three players, Ohtani, Tucker, and Snell, are going to make $134 million. Just three players. They are making more, $134 million. Those three are getting paid more than 6 teams in baseball, which include the Chicago White Sox, who are in the third largest market in baseball. Granted, they are the second team. They should be spending more money than what they spend. But that is a team who's owned by an owner who is notorious for doing the thing that I just mentioned to you. Not really caring about the product and more so caring about what's in your pocket. And so it's one of those things where, yeah, I kind of hate the fact that there are going to be so many teams in the NL who are going to have good years, and you're going to kind of roll your eyes and say, who the hell cares? You're going to lose to the Dodgers anyway. At the same time, though, how can I can't really blame the Dodgers for just being like, nah, man, here you go.
I would like another organization to try.
Yeah. Well, dude, like, okay, so the Dodgers are spending $413 million on players. The next highest, this is the funniest one. Dodgers are spending $413 million on players. The next highest is the New York Mets, who are spending $317 million on players. The Dodgers are spending $96 million more on their roster than the next best team. The Mets are second. The team that's third is the Toronto Blue Jays. They're spending $312 million on players. Try going up to the Mets and Blue Jays and saying, hey, man, why don't you spend more money? I'm not.
I would ask the Mets to spend their money better because they don't make the playoffs with that mega budget roster.
It's just one of those things where it's like, I can't tell Steve Cohen, hey, dude, why are you a cheapskate?
Yeah.
He's spending $1/3 $1 billion on a baseball roster this season. Now, I could probably look at a couple of teams, like looking at Spock Track, like, it's of my opinion that there are teams who could be spending more money on their roster and are deciding to be a little cheaper. I know it always comes back to Chicago, but like, the Cubs are 9th in payroll. They're spending $256 million on players. Like,
better than normal for them.
yeah, I mean, but still, like, Atlanta, could they be spending more? Maybe. Could San Diego be spending more? Maybe. Could Boston be? Could they get to the 300 level mark? Yeah. I'm sure Yankees fans are sitting there being like, how are we 5th? We're the New York Yankees. What do you mean we're 5th in salaries? How are the Phillies, who are like, the Phillies are spending $311 million on players? Like, I don't know if I can really tell Philly, hey dude, spend more. What are you doing? But just one of those things where it's and so here's a good, so Plattcat writes in the YouTube chat. Serious point. Yes, pros are more proven. This hasn't rang true with NIL, Texas Tech football, and Kentucky basketball. Just because you spend more money in baseball does not mean you are going to win the World Series. Okay? It happens way more times than not. Teams that don't end up spending the most end up winning the World Series. All right? Like, that's like, spending the most money gives you the most talent, which in theory gives you the best chance of winning the World Series. But it hasn't been a 1-for-1 of you have to spend a crap ton of money in order to win. You can spend less money and still win. And so, I mean, it's never been about that. It's just, this is kind of egregious. Like, already having, even without Kyle Tucker, the Los Angeles Dodgers were going to have the highest payroll in baseball by $40 million. They've went and doubled down and gave another guy $57 million. And first off, it's an egregious overpay. I don't know if you saw Kyle Tucker in the second half of the season, but he absolutely raked in the first half of the year, and we were calling him King Tuck and saying that he was going to win the MVP, and then he kind of cooled down when we got to the dog days of June and July and August and whatnot. And he didn't make the big hits that the Cubs needed him to make in the playoffs, if we're being frank. But the Dodgers know, hey, we're better off having Kyle Tucker on our team than trying to compete against him in the NL playoffs. So we're going to have an egregious overpay to make sure that he doesn't go anywhere else, and he makes our roster better. And, I think that college sports, like, if we're comparing this 1-to-1 with, you have teams that are spending more money in college sports than other teams and all that type of stuff. Like, I still think that you can kind of moneyball in college sports right now. Like, I think with baseball and basketball and the NFL, like, we have gotten so far deep into analytics and next gen stats and evaluations and development, where a lot of the teams are targeting the same type of players. And, what used to be value has now become expensive, right? Here's the best point, right? Back in 2002, what were the Oakland A's valuing? They were valuing home runs and on-base percentage, and they weren't valuing batting average like everybody else was valuing batting average. Well, now you can't really do that, right? Like the guys who get paid the most are the ones who get on base and the ones who hit home runs. Look at Kyle Schwarber, right? So we've gotten to very efficient points in pro sports where it's kind of hard to, find the crevices and find the spots where people aren't don't have a lot of value. I still think you can do that in college football. Like, and I just think that the projections and of players and evaluations and player development, like, I mean, there are just so many different systems and different ways of looking at it that there are just teams who are just so much better at it than others. Look at Indiana. Indiana is so much better at evaluating talent and developing talent than Nebraska is, right?
They show that graphic all the time, and it's like, here's how many 5 stars are on Ole Miss.
Yeah.
In Indiana, it was like, was it 0?
Yeah, basically 0.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, and also too, like,
that doesn't mean they're not paying for 4 stars, but
Here's a take, because Plattcat brings up a good example. Kentucky basketball. They're rumored to have a $20 million roster.
Mock Pope.
And people are saying, man, Nebraska basketball should get more money. Nebraska basketball should get more funds. Look at how they're performing. I don't really think Nebraska basketball needs more money. Like, I look at the
sometimes those restraints are good, right?
Well, you can look at it that way, but I choose to look at it this way. Fred Hoiberg has identified, okay, I need 4 things. Okay. I need shooting. I need experience. I need size, and I need somebody who's a culture fit. All right. I need somebody who's going to fit into our culture and understand, all right, this is what we're going to do. That's not really that expensive. You can find plenty of guys who can shoot the basketball, who have played a lot of college basketball. You can, whittle down the field of, right, these are the guys who want to, fit in our culture. And then you can find dudes who are bigger or longer or, fit the prerequisites of what you need at certain positions. And even Nebraska ball, it's not like Nebraska ball is a massive team anyway. But that's doable. You can do that under a tighter budget. You don't need all the money in the world. You don't need $20 million to build that, right? Do you know what you need $20 million to do in basketball? Go ahead and sign a guy like Darren Peterson, or sign a guy like AJ Dybansa, sign a guy like Cam Booth, or go ahead and sign a guy like AJ Storr or Hunter Dickinson. And sometimes they work out great, like Boozer and Dybansa, and sometimes it fails, like Storr had at Kansas and how Dickinson failed at Kansas. And Kentucky, they got plenty of guys that cost a ton of money, and they just escaped with a win against LSU, and people are questioning of whether or not Mark Pope is the guy at Kentucky. So it's one of those things where, we've kind of advanced into pro sports in a way in terms of our evaluations and development, where it's really hard to rig the system. It's really hard to, do things in a more efficient manner. You still can find your advantages. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the system isn't perfect. We see there clearly is gaps in terms of teams, even at the pro levels, of how they look at things and how they develop talent, how they evaluate talent. But I think that's way harder in the pro game than it is in the college game. I still think that. I mean, I look at basketball and Nebraska basketball is a better team than Kentucky. And they are spending way less money. And they're a better basketball team than Kentucky, and they're spending way less money, and you can replicate what they're doing. What Nebraska basketball is doing right now is incredibly replicable. That's the one encouraging thing about this entire process with the Nebraska basketball. I don't doubt that they can go ahead and find another guy who is an all-conference player at Bradley who can stretch the floor. I'm very confident that Nebraska basketball can go back into the portal next year and find a guy like Price Sanford who can shoot the ever-living crap out of the ball and space that floor, and they can unlock something in him. I'm incredibly confident that Nebraska basketball can go and find a guy like Jamarcus Lawrence, who's played a lot of college basketball, who can run an offense but also can go and get his own. High school prospects are getting left in the dust. One of Nebraska basketball's best guys on their team right now, who's playing some of his best basketball, came from high school, Braden Frager. That's the one thing when we talk about like college sports compared to pro sports. I still think there is a lot of malpractice when it comes to spending money in college sports. And I don't know if teams have found the most efficient way to evaluate players and value players and develop players and whatnot. For the people who say, "Oh, give Nebraska basketball more money," I would say, I don't know if they really need more money. I don't think they're in desperate need of that. I think with the budget that now, granted, does Nebraska basketball earn the right to be hey, we need $200,000 more to go and get this guy who fits our team? Okay, yeah, but I'm not saying hey, and this is just hypothetical numbers, right? But if you're giving Nebraska basketball $2.5 million to spend on their roster, I don't think it's very necessary for you to now go, hey, after this year, you get 8, I think Nebraska basketball's found a really good system for him. And if in this day and age, through an athletic department standpoint, if you can be very efficient with a lower amount of money, that's great for everybody. It's great for everybody. So there you go. I loved how we did that. We connected Kyle Tucker and the LA Dodgers to Price Sanford and the Nebraska Cornhusker basketball team.
Everybody wants to talk Husker hoops.
How about that? We are going to continue to talk about Husker hoops because they have a prime opportunity to go 18-0 to begin the season when they go on the road tomorrow at 3:00 in Evanston, Illinois, to take on the Northwestern Wildcats, who are breaking bad at basketball. Not good. Not good at all. We'll talk about that game. We'll talk about a big game tonight. Creighton goes on the road to Providence. Creighton needs this game. Fun fact, Creighton dropped as many spots in the net ranking after losing to St. John's as much as they did when they beat Georgetown. Creighton basketball was 41 before they lost to St. John's. They dropped to 47. They were 47 before they faced Georgetown. They beat Georgetown. They dropped to 53. In the latest ESPN projections for the NCAA tournament, Nebraska now on the 2 seed line. Creighton next 4 out. They originally were a part of the first 4 out. They've actually dropped back to next 4 out after their overtime win to Georgetown. So we'll talk about a big game tonight between the Blue Jays and the Friars. Divisional, NFL, playoffs, 4 great games. We'll sprinkle that throughout the entirety of the show. Brian Christopherson up at 11:30. Austin Jacobson here to talk high school sports at 1 o'clock. You're listening to Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Now back to Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Middays with Matt here on 1620 The Zone. Don't forget to stick around all the way to about 1:30 where we give you the what to watch for, which will be pretty loaded this weekend, Josh Hodson.
Oh, yeah.
Also, we'll give you our dog of the day, which won yesterday. The New York Islanders defeated the Edmonton Oilers 1-0, 2-2 on dog of the day. Fortunately, funny enough, I wasn't watching that game. I was watching the Chicago Blackhawks in a very chippy game against the Calgary Flames, lose 3-1. There was a Green Bay sucks chance, though, at the United Center. So we are so back. Straight. By the way, look, we're probably going to end up talking about the Bears game at the 1 o'clock hour heading into the end of the show. But I will say this little programming note here. Make sure you get to the broadcast early for the Bears game against the Rams, because they will be, I'm assuming, and they'd be stupid not to, are going to go ahead and broadcast the national anthem. I think they do that for every game anyway. But this one in particular, Jim Cornelison, the very famous anthem singer for Chicago Blackhawks, will be singing the anthem for the Chicago Bears game. I want to give, for people who don't know, it's a tradition at the United Center for when Jim Cornelison sings the national anthem for everybody to cheer, to everybody to clap, to everybody to roar, right? It's a big deal, right? It's a tradition there. they are going to do that at the Bears game. The reason why I'm telling people that is because there are some people who are unaware of the tradition who think it's disrespectful to be like yelling during the anthem and cheering during the anthem. Okay. That's something that people have told me before. It's something we do. It's fun. It's awesome. The atmosphere will be incredible. So it will be something that it'll be I'm anticipating it being one of the better national anthems that you will be able to listen to. We'll talk about that game in depth from a football perspective coming up at 1:00. Tonight, Creighton men's basketball takes on the Providence Friars on the road. Greg McDermott, 13-15 in his career against Providence. Providence 0-3 this season at home. They lost to UConn. They've lost to Villanova, and they've lost to Seton Hall, all at home this season.
Okay.
At the same time, though, all of those games they've lost by less than 6 points. Okay. So they've played, look, Seton Hall, UConn, and Villanova are definitely three of the better teams in the Big East. They've played them very tough. There was no reason why they should have won that UConn game. They outplayed UConn for a majority of that game, but Dan Hurley's group just would not falter in front of that just raucous crowd over at the AMP, and they eventually got that game to overtime and then ended up winning it. Credit to Providence, though. So they're 1-5 in Big East play, but their only win came on the road against St. John's of all teams. I know, right?
Whoa.
You're 1-5 in the Big East, but you beat St. John's on the road. What the hell are we doing here? So they got a pretty good group. Jason Edwards is their leading scorer. He's averaging 17 points per game, along with Jalen Sellers, who's averaging 16 points per game. So it should be a very interesting one for the Jays, who definitely need it. There definitely is the concern of, man, this team has played a lot of basketball in a short amount of time. They've kind of, what is this going to be? They're like, I think 6 game in 16 days or something like that. It's they're in the dog days of Big East play, but unfortunately, because of what they did in the non-con slate, right, only going 1-5 against Power 5 teams, they need to win every single Big East game that they can potentially afford. Unfortunately, this is not a Q1 win for Creighton tonight. You need to be top 75 for it to be a Q1 win on the road. Providence is 87th in the net. I still don't know how the net works. There's a lot of things about the net that don't make sense to me. I know that the common complaint about the net is that it takes margin of victory way too much into account. And that even if you don't win by enough, it doesn't credit you. For example, Illinois is ahead of Nebraska in the net ranking. I don't get it. Okay. Nebraska's 9-0 in Q1 and Q2 games. The only team that is comparable to them in that regard is Arizona, who's number 2 in the net ranking. Like I said before, Creighton lost a game to St. John's. They dropped to 47th. They dropped 6 spots. Creighton then wins the game, and they still drop 6 spots in the net because they didn't beat the 137th team in the net, Georgetown, by enough. So I don't know, man. We sometimes we put a lot of stock into metrics that
they love when you win big.
They do
on the net.
They do. And it's crazy though, Josh. It's like, the net's a pretty big deal when we go ahead and we rank teams in the end. The committee pays attention to the net. The committee takes the net's pretty damn accurate in terms of where you're going to be. So it's almost like you do have to worry a little bit about a point differential. If you have it in the back of your mind, it's like, man, we got to run this thing up, which I think that's why Fred Hoiberg had no problem with Braden Frager just launching up shots at the end of the game, because they're like, dude, the more points that we can win by, the bigger the margin,
That's what LSU women's basketball does. People in the non-con accuse Mulkey of, well, you're running it up on these, nobody state and directional universities. She's like, I need to be good in the net. And the net rewards me for beating the hell out of these teams.
It does.
That's what I got to do.
So
now she could
be better.
Could schedule tougher. Her team's pretty good. They could handle a loss in the non-con. It would be okay, but
she could be nicer about it.
Well, She could be nicer about everything.
That is true.
I don't think that's her style.
What is Kim Mulkey's style other than just,
Peacock?
Yeah, I was about to say, other than ridiculous dresses and very high heels.
Oh, okay.
So let's go to the text line here. Matt should interview Frank Caliendo as Gruden and then let Frank answer back as Gruden.
A little Gruden on Gruden.
A little Gruden on Gruden. That would be a great bit.
Gruden on Gruden.
And then what if we were able to book the actual John Gruden? And then we'll go.
What's he doing? We could get him.
Can't we get him? He seems like a pretty tough get nowadays. So
I'll he got one of those boxes from Iowa Western this year. So
yeah, did he get
I'll reach out?
Did he talk about the Reavers?
He did.
Did he talk about his favorite Reavers that he definitely had to look up beforehand?
I don't know that he named any names.
That is the one thing with John Gruden in those unboxings. So he starts naming a bunch of people from that university or from that team or whatever. I wonder how many he has to go back and look up in the and be like, oh, okay, he Stanford football player. Okay, I'll say Kobe Fleener. I'll mention him when we talk about that. So, alrighty, let's talk about the NFC divisional matchups. We'll talk about all the playoff matchups today, but let's go ahead and talk about the most interesting one. In my opinion, I think out of the 4 games, just because this is the rematch, and I think that, I like both of these teams a lot. I think Houston Patriots is a very interesting game. I think all these games are incredibly interesting games. But this one being the rematch definitely does pique my interest. San Francisco 49ers versus Seattle Seahawks. Visual matchup. The last time these two teams played, Seattle won 13-3. Key to the game. We'll do a key. First off, we're not doing keys to the game. I think keys to the game is overused. And I was thinking about this. I don't have keys. I have a fob. Fobs to the game.
Fobs to the game.
Fobs.
Just don't lose them.
I have them right over there. It's
great.
Where are my keys? They're not over there. I don't know where my keys are. Oh, there they are.
Good bit.
Wait. No, not a bit. Actually concerning. Here are my keys. And here's my fob. Fob to the game. People, by the way, underrated storyline of this whole season. The Seattle Seahawks are not good at running the football. I don't think enough people have talked about that or mentioned that. Seattle is 27th in EPA, which is expected points added. That's kind of my favorite stat. You'll come to hear that a lot on the show. EPA per play. How many points are you adding to your score from an efficiency perspective every single play? The Seahawks have not been good at running the football this year. 29th in EPA per rush. They're 25th in the league in yards per carry. And it's one of those things where you can identify the running backs and you know that the running backs have played well and they've had good seasons in the past. And so you kind of say, oh, they have a good run game because you know who Kenneth Walker is and you know who Zach Charbonnet is. And the identity of the Seattle Seahawks for a very long time has been, we're going to play great defense and then we're going to pound the ball down your throat. They have not been able to do that this season. Like I said, they're one of the worst teams from an efficiency perspective when running the football, and from a yards per carry perspective, 25th in the league. But the first time they played the San Francisco 49ers team, they ran for 180 yards against them. And so, if Seattle can do that and replicate that again, and play some really, really good defense and then be able to control the football, and kind of keep the football out of the hands of this awesome, even without George Kittle, the San Francisco 49ers offense is still really good. And you still got Kyle Shanahan calling plays for you. Now, here's an interesting little tidbit here. So, in the past, when the Niners play the Seattle Seahawks, the Niners kill them in the play action game. I mean, that's kind of the bread and butter of the 49ers, of just making you think, safeties going in different directions and linebackers pinching down and hitting some crossers, across the middle, and then letting some speedy wide receivers like Deebo Samuel in the pass just run all the way by you. They completed 8 play action passes in their game against the Seattle Seahawks, only for 38 yards. I mean, Seattle was absolutely dialed in on the play action passes. And Kyle Shanahan is a coach where, they're going to try and run the football, but if you stop the run, he's going to kind of abandon it. And from a X's and O's perspective, like Seattle is awesome at not being in a base defense and disguising coverages and just not allowing offenses to really predict what they're in and what they're going to do and how they're going to attack them. And so if the Niners can't get the play action game running and they can't really show a threat in the run game to begin with, and they're just kind of forced to drop back over and over and over again, I don't like their chances against the Seattle team or Seattle defense and a Mike McDonald-led defense that can pin their ears back. It really just comes down to Nick Ammonwari, who's the, kind of hybrid safety type for the Seattle Seahawks. He's a big, long defender who just can kill you in the run game. How is he going to play against Christian McCaffrey? How is he going to play against Kyle Juszczyk, the very well-known fullback for the San Francisco 49ers? The last time these two teams played, he dominated, and he was a massive reason as to why the Seahawks won. So let's talk about the other perspective here, right? Seattle can't really run the ball a whole lot. I mean, they're not very good at it. Now, they've proven to run it over here against the Niners, but now there's this speculation of Sam Darnold has an oblique injury.
Yeah, where'd that come from?
Dude, I was like, so that popped up on my radar about 2 days ago. If you know anything about oblique injuries, they're not fun. They suck. They will go ahead and they will bring you down to earth. The report going into tomorrow is that he'll be fine, and they're confident that he'll be ready to go. He did exit Thursday's practice though for treatment on that injury. So I don't know. Darnold said that he feels fine, and that he, quote, felt a little something in my oblique. Okay.
You got to keep that to yourself.
Dude.
It's January.
Dude. What are we doing here? What are you doing here? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Yeah, I love that meme. What do you mean? What do you mean you felt a little something in your oblique? Sammy, you have a Super Bowl defense, bud. All right. You got a fan base that is going to give you one of the best home field advantages throughout the playoffs. What do you mean you felt a little something in your oblique? Now, I think that's kind of been and look, I don't like the term low-hanging fruit. Okay? I'll tell you why. There's a reason why it's low-hanging. Like there's a reason why, it's out there. It's very clear, and it does affect things, right? And kind of the low-hanging fruit is, do you really trust Sam Darnold in the playoffs? Do you really trust Sam Darnold when it counts the most? Do you really? And it's one of those things where, okay, like, I get it. History tells you that in very big moments when the stakes are the highest, that Sam Darnold should not necessarily be the most trusted quarterback in the league. I'm not pushing back against that. I will tell you, though, that he's had a very good season. He's had a better passer rating than Bo Nix. Has had a better passing rating than Justin Herbert. Had a better passing rating than Baker Mayfield.
Had last year, too.
Had near the same passer rating as Josh Allen. Okay, the guy threw for over 4,000 yards this season with 25 touchdowns. His yards per attempt this season, one of the highest in the league, right? I mean, he's 8.5 yards per attempt. That's better than all of your favorite quarterbacks, okay? So it's one of those things where, yes, history will tell you that, if you go back and you looked at what he's done and what he in particularly hasn't accomplished in the playoffs, you would say, all right, I'm not going to trust Sam Darnold. But if we're going off of,
I would say that. Thank you, Matt.
If we're going off of this season, though, the guy's played really good football, and the guy's coming off of a year in Minnesota where he played really good football. So it's one of those things where the low-hanging fruit is be like, oh, I'm not going to trust Sam Darnold. But if you've watched football this year, he's been pretty damn good. And Jackson Smith-Njigba is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL.
That's a fact.
So this Seattle team, I picked them to win the NFC West to start the year. This defense was always going to be awesome. Mike McDonald is awesome at coaching defenses, and it was always going to be a question of, can this offense figure it out? The passing game has. If the Seattle Seahawks can find a run game, right, and we've kind of seen it. Funny enough, we saw it with like one of their division rivals, the Rams. when CJ Anderson all of a sudden just had a resurrection in his career and looked like the guy that we thought he would look like in Denver when he started running the football over, like just down everybody's throats in LA when they made it to the Super Bowl. Like, if they can find that with Kenneth Walker or Charbonnet, hang the banner, because this team is going to be incredibly difficult to beat. But
I'm going to guess, like last year in the playoffs, Sam Darnold is not going to be sacked 9 times.
Yeah, probably not.
Now, maybe because of the oblique, he can't get away from pressure, but I'm still going to say 9 sacks won't happen.
Mike asked a great question in the chat.
Hi, Mike. Thank you.
He goes, Matt, who would you rather have, Darnold or Caleb Williams?
Oh, hello.
Great question. Are we talking about this season, like this singular season? Because if we're talking about this singular season, I think that the Bears offense would be better with Sam Darnold. Okay? Can Sam Darnold, scramble and make those plays that Caleb Williams does? No. I would argue, though, that, I've watched basically every snap of Caleb Williams this year. There are times where it's phantom pressure. There are times where the guy kind of bails on the pocket too quickly and too soon. And there are times where there are receivers right in front of him and he just doesn't want to hit him. Example, when they lost the game to Green Bay in Lambeau Field, first off, he didn't see Cole Kmet right away, and he had DJ Moore right in front of him, rolling to his left. That play, in 2 different instances, should have been a touchdown. It was an interception. I think Darnold would be better for the Bears because he would just be quicker and more on schedule. And that's kind of what Ben Johnson wants you to be. Ben Johnson's great plan for Caleb Williams is not for him to do a lot of the things that he does. Okay? I mean, let's just be real. So this weekend, I'd rather have Darnold. For the future, Caleb Williams. I think people look over the fact that Caleb Williams is practically a rookie. All right. I really don't count his first season because of, first off, his coordinator was Shane Waldron, who's terrible. His head coach was Matt Eberflus, who's awful, who then both those guys got fired. Waldron was like 5 weeks into the year. Eberflus didn't make it past Thanksgiving. So this has kind of been Caleb Williams' first year, and he's made the impact that he's made in the league. So, but this week I would take Darnold. So that's that. That is Niners, Seahawks. If you're asking me to make a pick,
I am.
Seahawks.
Same.
I will take the Seattle Seahawks. I just think, and also too, we didn't mention George Kittle being out, massive. Fred Warner, by the way, might be back, the guy's a freakazoid. I mean, he's crazy that you can come back from a dislocated ankle that quickly. It's funny. My friend and I, we have this thing called the holy crap. We use a different word. Fred Warner play of the week. Because it just seems like every single week he just makes a player like a linebacker shouldn't do that. That'd be massive if the Niners got him back. It might be a smoke and mirror thing though. Like,
hey, he's coming back. You better prep.
Well, exactly. Like how can you be the Seattle how can you be the Seattle Seahawks if and sit there and be like, well, we can't act as if he's not going to play. So a day ago he said he's not ruling out a return against the Seahawks. Charles put in the chat that Shanahan said that he's not going to play. So we'll see. Do some double checking there. I didn't see that, but he's officially out. So still,
I went that idea.
I can't believe though that was even a thought.
Yeah, for it to be a discussion was
kind of wild.
Yeah,
but all right. So I'm taking the Seahawks. That's game number 1. Which game do you want to talk about in the 12 o'clock hour?
Ooh,
I'll let you pick.
Let's do 12 o'clock hour. People on their lunch. They want to hear the big game. Let's do Bills. Broncos.
Yeah, that's the next one, right? I think if we're ranking this game these games in terms of intrigue, to me, I would go Niners Seahawks, then Bills Broncos, then Bears Rams. Because I think that the Niners and the Seahawks and the Bills and the Broncos will actually are wildly interesting and be very, very good games. I don't know if I feel that way, and I don't know if people really feel that way about the Rams versus Bears, but it's a Bears game, so there's always the hint of like stupid things can happen,
That's what I'm counting on.
So like that's kind of been the theme this year with Chicago, where it's like, yeah, they're probably not going to win, but what happens when you get into the fourth quarter? Which, by the way, a lot of people are still trying to doubt the Bears and like their 7 fourth quarter comebacks. Here's a hot take: maybe it's just a part of their identity. Maybe Maybe that's just how the Bears are built, and that's how the Bears play. They're just better than you in the fourth quarter because that's what their culture has built up to be. Hot take, maybe.
That's interesting.
They're a team that plays all four quarters, and I think that's a reflection of their head coach. I think that's a reflection of what's going on in the locker.
What if they just played better in the first three quarters?
See, that's what I've been asking myself all season long. Okay.
So you're aware of this.
I'm very aware of the fact that, yes, I would like my team to play more consistent football and not put myself through a heart attack throughout the entirety of the game.
Yeah, I think you'd be happier if you did it that way.
Yes, I would be. That's a great question. Would you rather your team score 31 points all in one quarter, or would you rather them spread out equally throughout four? I'd probably would take, for my heart's sake, the equalness of fourth quarter.
Yeah, I'm just saying a lot of teams are choosing to do it the spread out over 4 quarters way.
The Bears don't. That team, man, that organization, whenever you zig, they zag. Whenever you go, hey, you play in Chicago. Hey, your team name is Chicago. Chicago's in Illinois. You should play in Illinois. They go, no, we're thinking about going to Indiana. And then Indiana, did you see this yesterday? Passed a bill in the Senate that is like basically giving the Bears everything they need to go ahead and build their stadium. So your move, JB. Our move next is to have Brian Christopherson on the show. So we're going to do that. BC from 247 Sports. We'll go ahead and talk about everybody's favorite special teams coordinator, Mike Ekeler, who may or may not be going to USC. Not official, but basically all signs are pointing there. We'll get some info from BC on that, get his opinions on what they've done in the transfer portal and what else, he thinks that Nebraska needs to do as the portal does close today. Today is the final day to enter the portal if you are not a Miami football player or an Indiana football player. All that coming up next year on Middays with Matt.
Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Get into Prairie Flower Casino and get more. More of the newest and hottest slot machines, more wins in the PFC Sportsbook, and more action at our live table games. And enjoy your favorite beverages and food at Sky Bar and Grill with more nonstop sports on our wall-to-wall TVs and more of the
Middays with Matt here on 1620 The Zone. Little breaking news here in baseball. After the LA Dodgers do everything that we would like our favorite baseball teams to do, which is just spend a ton of money and make the best roster possible, the New York Mets have responded. They have reached an agreement with Bo Bichette on a 3-year deal worth $126 million. League sources tell The Athletic the move comes roughly 12 hours after the Mets missed out on Kyle Tucker. Bichette's deal, which contains an opt-out clause after seasons 1 and 2, and does not include deferrals, is pending a physical. So we said at the beginning of the show, what do you want the Mets to do? Spend more money than $317 million than they have on players? Well, they're going to do that as they add about $40 million more to their payroll. Speaking about payroll and speaking about paying players, we bring in Mr. Brian Christopherson from 247 Sports. Hey, Brian, why don't the Huskers just act like the LA Dodgers?
Oh man, that would be nice, huh? I don't know what it's like to live in that Dodgers world as a lowly Minnesota Twins fan. So I just look at it from a distance and with some disdain, I must admit, as a low market team that was in the playoffs 2 years ago and then had their entire roster basically ripped apart in the middle of last season. But congrats to the Dodgers fans out there on their World Series next year.
Well, look, just because, I mean, you're probably, the whole thing with the whole. It is a little annoying that the entire year, and I think you can agree with this, like, even if you have success, people are going to be like, oh, you're just doing all this to lose to the Dodgers. But just because you spend all the money in the world doesn't mean you're going to win. Doesn't guarantee it.
Yeah, I like that thinking, Matt. Try to bring me out of the sewer with my thoughts, because I am down in the dumps sort of about where MLB is at with that stuff. But that's a good outlook. That's something I need to evolve to or switch course with. So I'm gonna think about what you said and try to redirect.
I would appreciate if more people thought about the things that I said to make themselves feel better. So I appreciate that sentiment.
Oh, I don't know, Matt. I think you got an impact.
Thank you. Thank you.
And congrats on this show, by the way. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited that you're here. Let's talk about it before we get into the headline, and we'll get in there. We'll talk about Mike Ekeler in a second. Today is the last day for athletes, if you're not Miami or Indiana football players, to enter the transfer portal. Right now, there's other, if your head coach gets fired and stuff like that, there's other things there, right? But for the most part, final day to enter the portal. That does not mean you can't acquire players anymore. It's just the last day you can get in there. Just what is your making right now on where Nebraska is at in terms of adding more recruits before you get to the point where you can no longer enroll into the school, and your outlook on what they've done up to this point?
The outlook for adding would be, I think you saw coming out of that little dead period Thursday with them having Stoudemire from Boston College in town, that it's a defensive line focus to maybe add one guy in the trenches there still before this ends. The Terrence Green thing was real, that he was on the radar to be in town, and it doesn't seem like that happened, and that's still a possibility. But I think you take yesterday's information and you say they'd still like to add, if they could, one more guy at least in that defensive line to what they already have. And then the name to not forget is Dylan Berryman, who is the high school recruit, who's a number 97 ranked player overall by 24/7 Sports in the 26 class. He had a great visit to Nebraska last weekend, was going to go to Kentucky and maybe Oklahoma State still. And he's like a old school, February signing day announcement, it appears. I forgot all about those, but apparently they still happen on occasion. And so that could be a guy that you would be pretty excited about too. So I think that's where they would be aiming. As for what they have, real quick, I guess I'd highlight I like the linebackers, and I like what they did at quarterback. We can get more into it, but all things considered, with what their situation was, I think they came out roses. Sure. And I say that especially with Danny Kalen joining the fold and just giving you like 3 guys who actually have starting experience. So I like the linebacker situation. I like the QB situation, what they did. And I like what they did on the O-line. I think Paul Mubanga, who was at LSU, was highly sought after. That's a case where you probably had to pay up to get him. But along with that, we heard that Jeep Wade and Lonnie Teasley were really, gifted recruiters, and they have a track record of that. And I think you'd have to say, at least as an initial impression goes with the portal, they did a nice job with adding Mubanga, Brendan Black, and Tree Babalade. So, I mean, those are 3 guys who could possibly start for you next year. They'll have to fight it out, but I thought they did well there on paper.
Yeah, and I think that, I think there's a perspective of, man, you wish they went out there and they got these, massive 5-star transfer portal type prospects and, drop these big bags. But if you're looking at it from just what was the need and did they address the need? I actually think they did a really good job at that, of just identifying, hey, what do we need, and then getting guys that can go and fill those holes. Let's go ahead and talk about the big news. How the hell did we get here? What happened? Like, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, this wasn't even a thought in people's minds that Mike Ekeler would no longer be the special teams coach for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and now it looks like we're heading into that direction. I mean, is there what light can you shed on just the process of how we got to this point?
Well, it was about a week or so ago. I heard from someone. It can be said at this point. I heard it from Schaefer, actually.
Yeah.
That he hadn't signed his contract yet. And Rule talked to, I feel like this is free space now for everybody, because, Rule even on Wednesday went on the podcast and gave kind of a lengthy answer on the subject and said how they had extended that opportunity even mid-season. And Ekeler actually did that at Tennessee last year, where he had a contract possibility for him and didn't sign it and ended up at Nebraska. So I guess for a week to 10 days, I've sort of been on alert about it, but you don't know like where that's going. It could just be like, you're midstream and signing the papers or whatever with that. But early in the week, as our USC guys in our network started to pick up intel, it was clear that the Trojans were making a big push for him. I don't know, like, all the reasons for Ekeler's thinking. I know people will speculate, and if maybe he wants to coach like a defensive spot too, and maybe that's open to him here and not there and not in Nebraska. I don't know if that's it or not. But he has been a guy who has moved around throughout his career. Tennessee, he was there for 4 years, but he's been at places a lot of times, 1 or 2 years. So I guess it kind of goes with that trend. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say it's not going to be a significant loss if it happens, as is sort of expected at this point. And I guess the latest I'd say is we don't know that it's done. Nothing official has been announced, but Matt Zenitz, who works for CBS Sports, connected with our network, said it's likely he's going to USC. And I know trust is an all-time low with reporters nowadays, but Zenitz is one of those guys who it's pointed that way definitely right now if he writes that. I can tell people 100% Zenitz is one of the best reporters in the business. So that doesn't mean the thing can't flip at the last second or something, and that's possible, but as that's where it stands right now. And if that's the case, it sounds like Rule's going to, he said the quote, probably hire within, and that would be Josh Martin, Nick Humphrey, or Brett Maher, I suppose.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I know Maher at least this what I've been told about Maher is that he's definitely more on the kicking side, the technical kicking side, and not necessarily the special teams coverage side. So it'll be interesting if he were to be the picker, like you kind of mentioned, if they just did it all by committee. And it'll be interesting. You bring up is the defensive aspect a part of this? That will be very curious to see. I think that is kind of the piece of the puzzle that people are, like you said, speculating about, but we don't fully know yet. And it'll be wildly interesting to see if that ends up coming to fruition, regardless of whether he decides to stay at Nebraska or go to USC. I guess my follow-up question to everything you just said there is, in your opinion, Mike Ekeler's potential departure? Does it communicate more about Ekeler, or does it communicate more about Rule and the current state of the program?
It's a great question. It's the biggest question. I don't know. And I know that's a bad answer. Like it's a hard one to connect the dots there. You do have to look at the fact that Ekeler has been a guy who he kind of likes to move around, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. That's sort of been his career path. But yeah, it's disappointing because I think when he signed up and came here last year, the thought was like, okay, he's coming back home, and it felt like this would be at least a 3 or 4 year plus adventure, right? Like It was sort of one of those hires in an age when you can't think that necessarily about assistants anymore because guys do move on after 1 or 2 years. This one felt like it could be different. And just because of the home ties and what I know the state means to him and with family and all that. And so that's what I think is kind of the shot to the gut to Husker fans if this goes through. And also, I mean, it was a great makeover he did. I think you can't underestimate. He's a great teacher, but also the just like juice and like sort of belief I felt like he sort of instilled with guys that were involved with that phase of the game within like the first month that he was here. I thought they had really turned the page from what everybody was talking about in 24 and all the block kicks and all the mishaps. And it was more so like, no, we expect to actually win games, and that's what we're going to do. And I really thought he did almost like a mind control thing on those guys. Like, this is the success I had at Tennessee, and we'll do that going forward. So we'll see, though, if they can carry that forward. As Rule says, they've sort of have the script and I think a new way of doing things under Ekeler, and they would try to follow up with that, and they could do it. I mean, I don't want to say that one guy can't be replaced. He can be, but you also at the same time have to say it sure is disappointing because he was one of the best Husker coaches I thought this last season.
And this is my last question on the topic, because I mean, I don't want to exhaust you over it, but at the same time, it's a big deal. It's a very big deal. How does because we're not at the point where we're making record predictions yet. All right. That's impossible. And it would be malpractice, and it would be dumb. Okay. To make, hey, I think Nebraska's going to go 6-6 or 7-5 or whatever. But I mean, does this move, like, how much does it move the needle in terms of, how you're going to look at next season? I mean, do you think that Nebraska might be losing a win or two with his departure?
I don't want to say that, but I think what it will do is create more of the question mark about if they can duplicate or whatever in that phase of the game, as opposed to, I think the offseason, if Ekeler were to return, would be spent like sort of with this confident bravado within the fan base. Like, they did this last year. Now they're going to take it up one more notch. And there was a notch to take it up too. To be fair about the whole thing, special teams was like on fire. It felt like to me, like the first 2/3 of the season.
Mm-hmm.
You would have to say at the very end, like the last couple games, and Ekeler said it even at the bowl site, and then they didn't have a great bowl game, that there was still some meat on the bone. Like the Iowa game, you have the Ja'Cory fumble, that was a huge play. I know maybe there was a helmet to helmet, but they didn't call it. Yeah. And then, that he's an aggressive coach in the Las Vegas Bowl. They kept taking kicks out and getting knocked down at the 15-yard line. And so that was sort of a minus game for them the last 2 times out. So I just want to be fair to the whole thing. There is room for them to grow. But to your original question, I don't know that I'd say like right now, like, oh, that knocks off a win or something.
Sure.
I just think it will knock down like the confidence in the discussions we have about like, oh, they're definitely going to be this in that phase of the game. I think people will be more like, oh, they got to prove it now.
And to your point, right? Like, I think the Kenneth Williams injury was a way bigger impact than people anticipated. Like, I think that there was a clear gap between how that unit looked when he was returning kicks and when Ja'Cory Barney was returning kickoffs. And you're right, that Iowa game,
they did get a punt back or a kickback, right? And,
Yep,
and a
yep.
recovery. But at the same time, like, Iowa won the position battle game massively. And that mattered big time before they ended up, blowing the doors off of them. All right, let's move off the Ekeler discussion. What are they going to do at running back? I mean, are we really just going to go ahead and say, yep, Mekhi Nelson's the guy? I mean, I know that he had some really good moments against Utah. Granted, Utah wasn't a very good run defense to begin with. Just your outlook on the position.
First off, my opinion was I hope they would add, I guess there's still that Marty Brown thing that sort of hangs in the wind. People want to see like what plays out exactly after the championship game. I'm not necessarily holding my breath on that. I've always tried to talk about what I think they're going to do or might be doing as opposed to just my opinion. And honest to goodness, that they have seemed to express confidence in what they have. And so I'm not shocked that there hasn't been an addition to this point or anything like that. And I say that while also with my personal thought, like I kind of hope they would add one more guy to just juice that thing up. And I like some of the parts they have, Matt. I've said it, with you guys before. Like, I think Mekhi Nelson, in his chance to sort of show what he can do, played pretty well in that bowl game. Like, I thought there was some good stuff there, and I think Mosey can be an interesting back. He was, of course, transitioning to doing that full time, and so that's a big adjustment that people probably underestimate. And I think they do have a lot of confidence in like Jamal Rule, who's coming in, and that he could be a freshman that pushes the conversation. So it's one of those where if they don't add somebody, it's going to be an off season, sort of like the last one was, where it's going to be like, are you sure? You sure you got this right? And so that's what they're betting on, their own scouting and their belief in their guys. And they could be right. I mean, I thought last year for even half the season, the running back position was over talked, honestly, because I was like, hey, Emmett's rolling and they're getting what they need out of that spot. And so they did it well for a year. And I think EJ Barthel's a good coach. I've said that many times. I think he's one of the best recruiters too. He's been in on Claude and Puma and Trey Taylor and a lot of guys. So he's done a good job. But sort of like special teams, if Ekeler's not here, even though there was a success last year, you could pair those things together. There's going to be like that skeptical sort of weight to discussions about the position until there's some proof offered going forward with a new look.
Any last minute additions? I mean, I think probably running back would be at the top of your list, but outside of running back, you think, all right, hey, they got about, so the timeline works this way, right? So school classes started on the 12th, I believe around the 20th. I think it's either 20th or the 23rd is the last day to kind of enroll classes. I think it's the 23rd. So any last minute additions you think they need to make, because you only get one portal cycle here.
Yeah. I still think there could be a D lineman hanging in the wind, whether that's the recruit Berryman or one of these portal guys. It seems like they're at least looking at that. So I would say that, and I don't know, that could be about it. I'm not taking my eye off the ball on the running back thing, because it's just been out there, like, and you never know what a individual player is thinking who has local ties. So there's always that possibility, but I sort of am leaning like D-line, and maybe that's where it is. I think they had a good portal haul on paper, and so we'll see how they did evaluating some of these D linemen that are maybe not the most high profile, but have a good, I think, the right traits to be successful. Like Jasir Whittington, I thought was a pretty good pickup out of Pitt. We'll see what they can do with them. The biggest storyline, really, Matt, it was the retaining guys as much as anything. So I know that's that's not what everybody wants to hear right now, because they're like, they just have to overhaul the whole thing. But this is very much going to ride on developing what you have, and developing Elijah Pritchett and Justin Evans and Riley Van Poppel and all those guys in the trenches. So that's going to be the story as much as these new guys that we're talking about.
It's very well said, because the fact that they really escaped with only losing Keona Davis and Dylan Raiola as frontline starters, I think is a massive win. And I don't think people realize that Andrew Marshall staying around is big, is really big. I thought he was I think Andrew Marshall is one of the best transfer portal pickups that this program has had under Matt Rule. I mean, he was a dude last year. So, BC, thanks as always. Thank you for the insights and all the happenings around Huskers and college football. Look forward to having these conversations every Friday with you, my man.
Yeah, sounds great, Matt. Thanks for having me.
All right, coming up next here on Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone, we'll do a quick little car wash on things that you can expect local and national in terms of sports. Then at the top of the 12 o'clock hour, we'll go ahead and we'll talk about Bills, Broncos, along with Nebraska basketball, Creighton basketball, and let's see, what else do I have on my list here? Oscar Jacobson coming up at 1 o'clock to talk a little bit about high school sports. He is a part of today's lineup, which is powered by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. And don't forget to interact with me on the Prairie Flower Casino hotline. Call that number 402-951-1620, 402-951-1620. You can also text us. On top of that, the Equitable Bank inbox is always open, and we will always pick up on the first ring, just like they do at Equitable Bank, where they take banking personally. Matt at 1620 The Zone, Josh O at 1620 The Zone. Don't go anywhere. We've got a loaded show of Middays with Matt here on 1620 The Zone.
Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-718-4040. That's 800-718-4040. 800-718-4040.
Now, back to Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Middays, Matt here on 1620 Zone. Old friend alert. Jalen Lloyd, the former wide receiver who transferred to Oklahoma State last season after being with the Huskers for 2 years, is now going to the University of Florida. So congratulations to Jalen. Definitely an upgrade, I would say.
Florida?
Yeah. Probably. Well, it would have been interesting to see what a guy with his speed would look like in the Eric Morris, Drew Meskamaker offense that Oklahoma State is going to have next season. But still, he ends up in Florida. Jalen Lloyd, most known for his speed, definitely as a wide receiver. I mean, that's kind of what he's known for across the country. Had that awesome touchdown that he caught from Heinrich Harburg. People forget in 2023 it was like a option pass against Purdue at home. It was probably one of the coolest moments I've experienced at Memorial Stadium, which should just go and show to you how bad Nebraska football was when I was a student there. That, a long touchdown pass from a 5-7 team defeating Purdue was one of my better moments as a student at a football stadium. But it just never really worked out for Lloyd at Nebraska from a long-term perspective, and then goes to Oklahoma State, and that fell apart really quickly. But ends up finding a home over with Summerall at Florida. So good for Jalen Lloyd. We already mentioned in response to the LA Dodgers operating the way that everybody would love their MLB team to operate, which is just finding the best players and paying the best players. The Mets have responded. They go ahead. They sign Bo Bichette. Bichette was rumored. I definitely think the Tucker market, influenced the money that he got, and he was rumored to go to a bunch of different places, which also included my team, the Chicago Cubs. I would have loved to have had Bo Bichette on the Cubbies, but he goes to the Mets. So the Mets now, they up their payroll up about $40 million. So closing the gap to only now about, $50 million between them and the Dodgers. Also, always have to remind people, just because you spend the most money does not mean you're going to win the World Series, but it definitely does help. There is a mixture of, I'm not mad at the Dodgers. I'm more so jealous of the Dodgers than anything. But it also is, I think I'm totally right in saying, there's not a whole lot of skill that goes into just, we have more money than God, and we're willing to spend $500 million on a roster and just take everybody's wanted free agents. There's not a ton of skill in that. But hey, if you got it, spend it. And not everybody's willing to spend it. Let me tell you that right now.
That's right.
Not everybody's willing to spend in the MLB. So I got to give some kudos to the Dodgers. I'll give plenty of kudos to the Dodgers for being willing to spend it, because there are some teams in the MLB who just, we'd rather make a profit. We'd rather turn a profit instead of having the most competitive market we possibly can. So kudos. There's the mixture of I'm mad and I'm jealous, but I don't think there's a whole lot of prerequisite skill that goes into just being like, we have more money than you and we're going to go ahead and get this player. At the same time, I wish more teams operated like that, because it would create a more entertaining prospect or product potentially. And I want players to get paid. I want players to make money. I will when
finally someone's speaking up for the players.
I'm just saying, when the collective bargaining agreements come down and we're talking about CBAs, you'll rarely hear me go, you know what? I think the owners have a point. I'm typically going to side more with the players more oftentimes than not. All right, coming up next here, we'll detail some things that are happening local this week that you can go ahead and pay attention to, along with talking about our next matchup in the NFL Divisional Playoffs. The Bills and the Broncos. We'll break that down next here on Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
If you or anyone you care about is facing a family legal matter, call Cordell and Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL or visit CordellCordell.com to schedule your consultation.
Now back to Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Not really a weather guy outside of sports.
No, we established that.
Yeah. I mean, don't care. Don't care, really. You know, I put on a coat. I make my way. And I make sure that, hey, it's going to be a weather game in Chicago. It's going to be a weather game, by the way, in Foxborough, too. I mean, they're expecting really cool temperatures along with potential snow and rain before and during the game. So that'll be fun to watch. I say all this to say, be careful out there, Omaha. It's coming down right now. It is snowing. When we were in the break, it was it's not really increasing in terms of snow capacity on the ground right now. It's just very, very windy. Now it is, snow's coming down. There's additional snow and it's windy. And I'm looking at I consider myself, to be a bit of a snow expert. Josh Hodson, these are really big snowflakes. I can tell you right now, these puppies are going to stick. All right,
Crap!
This is going to be an accumulation of snow. So hey, make a fireplace when you get home from work today. This is the classic thing you need to do. Go ahead, if you have a fireplace, make yourself a nice, warm, cozy fire. Right? If you got kids, make some hot chocolate. If you're, with you and the missus or you and your partner, go ahead and have a nice glass of wine, crack open a nice cold beer, and then have the kids go and shovel. All right. Have the kids go and snowblow. Tell you this right now, having your children snowblow for you or having your children shovel for you, it will make them better. Okay. It will build character. One of the best decisions that my parents ever made was when my brother and we got to a certain age, they said, we are retired. We are no longer shoveling the snow. We are no longer snow blowing this crap. You two got to figure out team building, teamwork, team bonding. Also, learning how to operate a snowblower and how to, make sure the oil's okay, fill up the gas, make sure
Horse crap!
No, it's not horse crap. It's good. It's a good learning experience, right? Don't choke your snowblower, right? You got to make sure you can turn it on properly. These are good experiences that you can turn it into. At the same time, be careful out there when driving. This looks like it sucks. I'm not going to read that name in our YouTube chat, Josh. But he says at 90th and Dodge, and there's no way enough to shovel. It's already over. I'm just saying, like, looking out here, I don't know. I didn't look at the weather, but if this continues to accumulate and happen and, snows.
I do believe it is done, but it is.
Oh, Grant, did I really just do a whole soliloquy?
Hold on. But it's blowing around right now. It is affecting visibility.
It is.
But I don't think.
Is it already done snowing? It's not going to snow?
It looks like a snow globe outside currently.
It does.
But
so this is why I probably should look at the weather before I give you a whole thing of what you should do. Yeah. Beats me.
it's going to be there at the end of the day. You can still light that fire. You can still have your children do manual labor for you.
I'm telling you, I'm just saying in general, when there is enough snow to be on the ground, it is really good. I mean, I really believe that. I gained a lot of character and learned how to work hard with my brother through shoveling snow. I don't know why the single.
Lesson.
By the way, I don't know why the single 23-year-old is giving all of the folks out there with kids already lessons or tips or anything like that. You know way more about life than I do. All right, let's talk about the AFC divisional round. Is this the best game? Bills at Broncos? Is this the best one we got?
It's the one I'm looking forward to most.
I think the best game in terms of competitiveness might be that New England Houston game because it's
interesting.
Because the New England offensive line, especially the left side of the offensive line, did not have a good game against San Diego. And the Houston Texans had these two guys. I don't know if you've heard of them before. Their names are Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter. They're pretty good at their job, and their job is to sack the quarterback. So that will be interesting. And then you couple in the fact that the Houston Texans offense is kind of a dumpster fire, and the New England defense is really good. I think that game from a competitiveness standpoint will be interesting. I think this game, though, is the most interesting from a matchup perspective because the Broncos kind of do everything well that the Bills can't hold up against. The Bills, the book on the Bills this year has been they are terrible at run defense. They can not stop the run. They are giving up 136 yards per game. That's 27th in the league. They're giving up 5.1 yards per carry. That's also one of the worst marks in the league. Denver is running the ball at 5.3 yards per carry heading into this game. It's one of those things where, Denver's going to have the opportunity to pound the rock. Another thing, too, is, the Bills' offense, very predicated on the run game, very predicated on James Cook, very predicated on Josh Allen getting the ball out quickly. One of the best just quick decision-making quarterbacks in the NFL this season. RPOs, especially with Khalil Shakir, have been on point for the Buffalo Bills this season. But Denver is good on that quick pass game and defending it. I think that it's one of those things where the Broncos are good at defending it. At the same time, the Bills' ability to implement that will take away one of Denver's best strengths on defense, which is getting to the passer. They're one of the best pass rush defenses in the league. And so I think it's a really interesting matchup on the offensive end for Buffalo, coming up against what I think is a the Broncos defense, I would not say is on the level of the Seahawks or the Texans. I think that those two defenses are better than the Broncos, but I mean, Denver still, you'd be a fool to say that they don't have a good enough defense to win playoff games. I think that it'll really just come down to can the Bills get the ball in the hands of Josh Allen? And Bo Nix, man, like there are games where it's like, oof, like, okay, he looks young. And you see some overthrows and you see some instances.
Overthrows.
Yeah.
I like that.
And there'll probably be, especially early in the game where they take a shot, he probably outshoots Cortland Sutton. There are games though, like Green Bay, where you're like, whoa, like this guy, like I've seen Bo Nix and you're like, oof, I don't know about that. And then there are games where I see Bo Nix and I'm like, oh, he's it. He's slinging it. He's in a rhythm. So, if the Broncos get the really good version of Bo Nix, they're going to make a run. If they get the bad version, and this is just lazy reporting at this point. If the Broncos quarterback doesn't play well, they're going to lose the game. Breaking news. If he does play well, they'll probably end up winning. But it's interesting from this perspective. Like, this is the legacy building run, the legacy building opportunity for Josh Allen. No Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, no Joe Burrow in the playoffs, no Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. This is Josh Allen's opportunity to get his gold jacket. This is his opportunity to make that kind of legacy-defining run. And I think that if the Bills can just give him the ball, I mean, he is just playing at such a high level from a quarterback perspective right now. And James Cook, the rushing king this season, if they can control the ball, not turn the ball over, and just not get gashed on the ground, I think you're just going to trust that Josh Allen is going to be the superstar and the MVP caliber quarterback that we all know him to be. And also, we've kind of seen this resurrection of Brandon Cooks, who had a really good game against Jacksonville. I mean, talk about a guy who's, okay, I guess Brandon Cooks now is the second wide receiver on the Buffalo Bills. Like, I think that's what we're rolling with, which is crazy because it just seems like that guy has 9 lives and he's never out of the league. I mean, you got to go pretty far back now to remember Brandon Cooks on the New Orleans Saints, making a name for himself. Like, yeah, that doesn't, it seems pretty long ago. And then being on the LA Rams and then going to the Dallas Cowboys. And then, he kind of disappeared for a little bit and now he's back and he's making a big impact for the Bills. And so we'll see. I can't wait for him versus Riley Moss. That will be a interesting matchup. But, this is a Bills team that they don't really push the ball down the field. They get the ball out quickly. They run the ball. They're patient. And we'll see if the Bills can just get off the field, I think that they're going to win this game. And the longer that Josh Allen has the ball in his hands compared to Bo Nix is going to bode well for this team. It's because what version of Bo Nix do you get? Do you get the great version of Bo Nix or do you get the shaky version of Bo Nix? You get the great version of Bo Nix. I don't think the Broncos are going to have any problem winning this game. What's more likely to happen, though, and with Allen, it's one of those things where yes, he's great, and yes, he's the MVP, and yes, he's awesome. You're also expecting a ton out of him. Like, you are putting a ton on this guy's shoulders to go ahead and win this game when the matchups really don't play in your favor. Like, what you don't do well, Denver can go and take advantage of that. And so Ed Oliver, let's see if we, I haven't seen an update on him. I'll look that up right now. He was potentially going to be back. That could be very big for the Bills. Run game here. I don't see any on the first lookup of it of him for sure being back or not. But apparently the latest update is that there were some inspired reports. So if Ed Oliver is back in the flow of things, that would be very, very good for the Buffalo Bills. Let's go to the Prairie Flower Casino hotline where we have one of our favorites, Denver Broncos. Eric is on the line. Eric, what did I get wrong?
You didn't get anything wrong.
Hey.
I just have a few comments I'd like to add in.
All right. Add in your comments.
Sean Payton's had a couple of weeks. I guarantee Bo Nix will have designed QB runs.
Yes, great call, Eric. Yes, you're totally right. Continue on that.
Okay? And that will help determine what's going to happen with the Broncos offense.
Sure.
Not to mention, Mr. Dobbins is back and ready to go. RJ Harvey has already shown in his rookie season what he can do. J.K. Dobbins, I only need him for maybe 10, 15 plays just to spell Harvey, but just to scare the hell out of Buffalo's defense.
Good call,
because
Eric.
He's so awesome in the passing game.
Good call. Good call.
And FYI, Shakir, Cook, Knox, it don't really matter who it is. One side of the field is locked off. Okay.
I hear you.
And Riley Moss has proven this year that he can hold up with some of the best.
You're right.
So good luck throwing the ball, boys.
Good call, Eric. Eric's totally right. The Buffalo Bills, one of the worst teams in EPA against quarterback runs this season. So does Bo Nix use his feet? What does Sean Payton do? It was great. I was listening to Jameis Winston on the New Heights podcast, and they asked him a great question about all the offensive coordinators that he had in his career. And are there any in particularly where he knew he could trust him in calling plays? And, Jameis described it as, there are guys where it's like, are you just looking at the sheet and you're saying, hey, we're going to run this play? Or are you looking at the game and are you actually adjusting and you're recalling back to things? And he called it being like on it. Like he's on it. And one of the guys that he mentioned as one of his best play callers that he could tell that he understood the feel of the game. How was the game going and how was he adjusting to that? He said one of the best OCs that he had was Sean Payton. That Payton just he understood the feel of the game, where the game was heading, and almost as if like his best calling card, if he knew that his offensive coordinator was in on it, is if they called something that they installed like in week 2 of OTAs. If they're going ahead and thinking about things, not that they necessarily planned out for, but can go back and be like, oh, I'm seeing this. I can call this. I know that this will work. She said Sean Payton was one of the best. And that's why I think when you got to the Russell Wilson, Sean Payton divorce, right? Essentially that happened in Denver. You could say without a doubt, they picked the right horse to back in Payton, who has been awesome for Bo Nix and his development. So let's make a pick.
Yeah.
This is tough. This is a tough one.
This separates the men from the boys. Picking this game, not playing?
Do you pick the team or do you pick the quarterback? Do you pick the overall better team and the overall better matchup, or do you pick the field general? Do you pick the gunslinger? Do you pick the guy that you trust in the most? I think that mind would tell you pick the team. I think that history, and in particularly last year's playoff run, would tell you pick the quarterback. Because we played this game with Patrick Mahomes all year long, even up to the Super Bowl, where you're picking the team. Hey, the Chiefs are outmatched, but what happens? Patrick Mahomes leads them, and they win, right? And they win a playoff game. They get all the way to the Super Bowl. So do you pick Josh Allen, or do you pick the Denver Broncos? Mind tells you team, heart tells you quarterback. I bet with my mind too much, so I'll go with my heart. I'll pick the Buffalo Bills. I think this is the moment. I think this is the time for Josh Allen to establish who he is as a player. I think this is not establish who he is as a player, but who he is in terms of a legacy perspective. This is the moment for Josh Allen to establish himself as a true Hall of Famer. This is the moment for him to kind of etch his name into Canton. This is this playoff run is his opportunity to say, hey, I am the guy everybody believes me to be. I am the Hall of Famer everybody believes me to be. I am capable of taking Buffalo to a place that they've never been before. So, and not the Super Bowl, but to the stage of the Super Bowl, to be the Super Bowl champions.
It doesn't make any sense, Matt. You're right. Ha! But I'm picking the Bills.
Whoa! All right,
it's a quarterback league.
It is a quarterback
As my
league.
voice squeaks like
it doesn't make any sense. You look at this game and you go, the Broncos should win it handily. Like
Yes.
the Broncos should be able to lock down the outside threats of the Bills. They should be able to get to Josh Allen. They should be able to kind of thwart James Cook. they should be able to go ahead and pound the rock down the throat of the Bills defense and not allow Josh Allen to have the ball. They should dominate time of possession, and they should out physical the Buffalo Bills. And yet I don't care about any of that. I'm like, Josh Allen is the MVP of the league for a reason and playing Superman ball and has been playing Superman ball. I just think that this is his moment, and I think he knows it, and I think his team knows it, and I think that they're just going to win. So I won't be betting on this game.
I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Neither would I. But I will bet on this. I'm going to tell you right now, I will put a hefty wager on the Seattle Seahawks. That will happen. All right. At the end of the hour, we're going to talk about the Texans Patriots game. Then we're going to go ahead and we will talk about the Bears game to end the show. We will go ahead and talk about, though, college basketball coming up next. We'll talk about Creighton basketball playing tonight against Providence. Massive, massive game. What should you be watching for? What should you be looking out for? Same thing with the Nebraska basketball game. There's also some really good SEC hoops that if you're a hoop head, go ahead and watch some of those games as well. We'll keep you updated with everything going on. Quick little thing, too, from an NFL coaching perspective. Adam Schefter tweeted out just a little bit ago, not official with John Harbaugh and the Giants. Money isn't necessarily an issue. They're kind of wording some things out, but nothing's been signed. It's not official. So is it Adam
Ekeler or Harbaugh? Who signs with their new team first?
Yeah, I'm kind of hesitant on talking about Ekeler a little bit because we've talked about it the last 3 days.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it right now, and then we'll move on and we'll give some updates as we move forward. But like, if Nebraska were to lose Mike Ekeler, I understand that there are some maybe things that they can't necessarily control and maybe some things that they can't necessarily do or give Ekeler in terms of what he's looking for in his career. At the same time, man, it would be such a big loss. And the fact that you couldn't move heaven and earth to keep him, and the fact that him being, back home basically in Lincoln and being the Nebraska Cornhusker special teams coach once, or special teams coordinator, and being, wearing that N once again and giving him a massive raise isn't enough to keep him in the program. It would reflect poorly on the program. And it would be a big loss. It'd be a big loss from a X's and O's perspective, and it'd be a big loss from a personality, authenticity, identity perspective. From that standpoint, and that would be really, really, really disappointing. So, all right, coming up next, we'll talk about some college basketball hoops. We'll give you some more previews on the NFL playoff matchups and keep you updated with what's going on in sports and breaking news today. Bo Bichette signing with the New York Mets, basically in response to Kyle Tucker signing a groundbreaking, basically $60 million a year deal with the LA Dodgers yesterday. Middays with Matt. Don't go anywhere here on 1620 The Zone.
Now back to Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Middays with Matt here on 1620 The Zone. Where did I found something. There was a recent mock draft for the NFL that I wanted to comment on. It was the first one I saw without Dante Moore. Mocking Arvell Reese could go second overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. So I think that would be one hell of a pick.
What's happening at 4? Just out of random curiosity, no reason.
Let me look here because I can go.
It's just you scroll a little bit further down. 2, and then it goes.
Well, no, I wasn't
it probably
looking.
Goes
I
3,
saw it and then I lost it. Don't you hate it when you lose things?
After 3, it's probably 4.
Okay, no, I'm not talking about that, dummy. I'm talking about the fact that I lost the tweet. Here. It's this guy that I follow called NFL Draft Files. Okay. Let's see. At 4, Ruben Bain Jr. Wow, he's got
Am I going to like that?
Ruben Bain's awesome. He's the defensive end for Miami. He's having a great year this season. So homegrown too. Got him. He's been I think he's a junior.
Picking Miami players there in Nashville.
So you got Jordan Tyson all the way up at 5 to the Giants. That'd be interesting. That'd be a really dynamic young offense with Neighbors, Tyson, and Cam Scatterbo. Granted, all those guys come back healthy. Cardinal Tate 6 to Cleveland. So RIP Cardinal Tate. I'll see your that'd be a real bummer because I really like the former Marisk product from Chicago, Illinois, who then I think he went to IMG and then ended up at Ohio State. It'd be terrible if his career rotted away for the Cleveland Browns. Sad news, though, for the Kansas City Chiefs fans out there who really want Jeremiah Love. According to this mock draft, he'd be picked ahead.
Way ahead of.
No, actually,
well,
at
I
8,
guess, yeah,
at 8, and then they would be at 9.
The Chiefs are picking at a different spot than I'm used to them picking.
Yeah, they're picking the Chiefs in the top 10. I got to, what the hell is happening here? They might be Chiefs could be a trade down candidate, I think, if they're able to recoup more picks because that roster is getting kind of old. And so, if they want to retool and get younger around Patrick Mahomes, I think trading out of 9 would probably be a very good way to do it. But they haven't taken Peter Woods out of Clemson, so getting a defensive tackle there. So that's a mock draft for everybody who definitely cares as we head into the playoffs in the NFL. All right, let's talk a little college hoops. Big game for Creighton tonight, 53rd in the net ranking. They take on the Providence Friars on the road. Look, I think that for Creighton, tonight, I think they've established how they're going to win games. Like, they're going to have to play well in transition. They're going to have to make their shots on the outside. They're going to have to do their best to clean up the boards. It's one of those things where they're never going to be a good defensive team. Okay, they just aren't. They just don't have the pieces to do that, to be that. I mean, they're just not built that way. And we've seen it get better from a team perspective. I mean, they are communicating and rotating and playing harder than they were earlier in the season. But it's just one of those things where you're never going to get to the point where that's their identity, and they just kind of have to do it to the best of their abilities. It'll be interesting to see the minutes that'll be distributed tonight from a front court perspective because, Owen Freeman played 6 minutes last game. That is just not the contributions. Owen Freeman was not brought in and paid the amount of money he was paid in order to be a kind of transitional piece, where it's like, all right, Jason Green needs to take a break. Or Trot needs to take a break. Let's go put this guy out there for 6 minutes and hopefully survive long enough so we can get our good players back in the game. That's not the role that he was supposed to play. And frankly, the role that maybe people thought he would play, even after being taken out of the starting lineup was the one that Kieran Conan played last game, where Conan had 18 minutes of play, was plus 11 in the box score, and was just kind of a banger down low and cleaning up the boards. We'll see how much time Hudson Greer gets off the bench tonight. He had 5 minutes against Seton Hall and then 10 minutes in that bludgeoning against St. John's, but didn't play last game against Georgetown. Do they use the freshman this game? So, this is a big matchup. Providence isn't necessarily the best team. They're not great. They're, like I mentioned, 87th in the net, but they've played teams very close at home. Like we mentioned before, losses to Villanova, Seton Hall, and UConn, 3 of the better teams in the Big East. All those losses came within 6 points. This is a team that also went on the road and beat St. John's. So they haven't been able to pull these games off with Kim English at the helm, but it's not as if they're a bad team and they're just, an ant to be stomped out by the boot of Creighton. They're going to get challenged tonight. And once again, Creighton, they look tired against St. John's. They look beat against St. John's. And the reason why they lost to St. John's was because they didn't have the legs and the energy to push the ball in transition. And when they weren't able to push the ball in transition against St. John's was able to set up that just suffocating half-court defense, and they couldn't get a whole lot in the half-court in offense. The Blue Jays couldn't. And they kind of looked the same a little bit against Georgetown. Now, granted, they had 15 fast break points. That was 10 more than they had against St. John's. How do the legs look tonight? Because once again, you only got 3 days in between games, and that's kind of been the pattern they've been on. And this has not been a kind January. I mean, the schedule makers were not very kind to Creighton when it came to Big East play. I mean, they had to take a long road trip out to the East Coast to play two good teams in Seton Hall and Villanova. And then you got to come home and you got to play a tough team to play that's going to beat you up in St. John's. And then, the Georgetown game was kind of like, all right, you get a bit of a break. They nearly lost that game. They should have lost that game, frankly. Now, you're kind of even because you should have won the game against Seton Hall, but that's neither here nor there. I think Creighton, what they are now, and you know what they have to do in order to win games. I don't think it's, you can go opponent by opponent and try and break down the opponent, but I think it's honestly Creighton versus Creighton. Can Creighton clear the boards? Can their defense give their offense a chance? Can they execute in transition? Can they make their shots on the perimeter? And then it just comes down to, being aggressive. And honestly, can Jason Green and that shoulder hold up? I mean, Coach Greg McDermott said kind of in his post game with John Bishop here on 1620 The Zone, like, Georgetown attacked Jason Green because it kind of realized, hey, he's playing with one arm, and he's got that big old shoulder brace that, he's made a 3-point shot with that shoulder brace, but, and it's not as if Jason's greatest attribute is his shooting, but still, I mean, it's affected that without a doubt. And, he is such an important player. But they only got 21 minutes out of him last game because now that was an injury thing. And also he had 2 personal fouls. And so, he is just so important to what they do on both sides of the floor. And how, can he hold up? Got knocked out of the Villanova game pretty early. And they desperately needed him to come back, and they suffered. I mean, they got down against Villanova because when he wasn't out there, when he gets put back in, that's when they had that resurgence. So what does his availability look like? How does he play tonight? And also, too, I think from like a screening perspective, I know this is like nerd basketball stuff, but it just seems like sometimes when Creighton is setting screens, they're just not getting the defenders off the ball handlers effectively enough. And teams are really able to fight through some screens and still put pressure on ball handlers to the point where maybe, I mean, set a screen to get them off, right? Set a screen so your ball handlers can have a step on the defender and can get downhill. This doesn't seem like that's happening unless it's Jason Green setting those screens. So I think he's vastly important in that game on the offensive end. All right, let's shift over to the Nebraska Cornhuskers. They take on Northwestern. So they go to Evanston at the Rye. Look, Northwestern's bad. Northwestern's bad. All right. They're not, it's bad. They're not good. They're young. They're dumb. They don't know how to play offense. It's one of the most discombobulated offenses I've seen Chris Collins coach at Northwestern. They're 123rd this season in effective field goal percentage. It's one of those things where they cannot shoot the three, yet they can't shoot the three and they don't even take threes anymore, which is kind of wild. They shoot 31% from beyond the arc and they're only taking 23s a game. Their defense is pretty solid though. They're top 60 in opponent effective field goal percentage, opponent 3-point percentage. Man, it seems like, and I've noticed this watching the Cats play, like opponents are shooting 29% from three against them. I mean, they're defending the perimeter really, really well, but opponents are making over half their 2-point attempts against them. So this is a good Northwestern defense. No surprise there. Kind of how Chris Collins operates. they're fairly athletic. I'll give Northwestern that. In terms of athleticism that Chris Collins has had at Northwestern, this team is probably on the higher end, I would say, than teams past. But it's just from a shooting perspective, yuck. It's disgusting. It's bad. It's bad. But they had this guy named Nick Martinelli. And he is really good. If you haven't watched Nick Martinelli play offense, it really isn't a whole lot of what you're used to seeing from a college basketball perspective.
A walking bucket.
This guy is not going to take 2 dribbles, plant his left foot, step back, and hit a 3 on you. He's not. He is going to dribble into the paint, kind of move strangely, like waddle in a way, and like gallop from side to side, somehow get to like the nail, and then just put up a floater, and it goes in. Okay? And he's going to, like I said, waddle around the paint and then somehow find a hole to the baseline and then put up a layup. Like, it's just weird. He's got the floater. He's got the hook shot. He's not particularly fast, and he's not that great of a ball handler, but he just finds his spots. He finds his spots and he hits his spots. It'll be interesting. Northwestern's good at, switching defenders and getting him some favorable matchups, and finding him the ball when he needs to have the ball. He is one of the best. I mean, that's what they have going for him. The offense being discombobulated is one thing, but it's another thing when they can just give him the ball with 8 seconds left in the shot clock and say, all right, go and get a bucket. He's really good in the paint, really good on the block, very versatile. It'll be interesting to see who they match up against him and how they switch on him. I think Berke is going to be, if I had to guess, it's probably going to be the guy that's going to have to spot up, defend him. That'll be a very interesting matchup. All this to say, if Nebraska goes in and has an average-ass shooting night, they're going to be fine. They really are. I think that Martinelli will get his, but outside of that, there's really not too many threats on this Northwestern basketball team. They got Page, number 22, comes off the bench. He's pretty good. But Sheravino doesn't pose you a threat. Jaden Reed is their point guard. He's number 4. He had, I think, 26 or 28 points against Illinois. He was just making everything. That doesn't happen a lot. Okay. He's not all that great. Number 8, his name's Trey Singleton. Good freshman. He's learning. So if Nebraska goes out there, they play their defensive basketball. They stick to their identity, and they have a decent shooting night. They should have no problem handling the Northwestern Wildcats. They are better coached than Northwestern. They're more well put together than Northwestern. They know what they're doing at a way higher level than Northwestern. They're better at shooting. They're better at everything. There's really not one facet of the game that Northwestern is better at than Nebraska, outside of the fact that Nick Martinelli is the best pure scorer on the floor. But
I could make my memes tonight.
You're good,
is what you're saying.
You're good,
and just release them after the game.
You're good.
Okay,
you're good.
And that's probably what I'll do.
I feel like I have a pretty decent barometer when knowing there's an upset afoot and things could get a little dicey. Like, I'll tell you right now, that game against Minnesota at the Barn, do not let records and Ken Palm and net or anything like that fool you. That is going to be a war. That is going to be a really tough game. This one will not be. It will not be. If Nebraska was like on the road a couple of days before, like let's say if they were doing like we're going to Champaign and then we're going to stay in Effingham, Illinois, and then, go to Chicago and then play Northwestern. Like maybe if this was an extended road trip, or something like that, or they only had like 2 days rest for this game. If there was some weird caveat, I would tell you, maybe be aware. No, they've had plenty of rest. They're not on a road trip. They're going from Lincoln to Chicago. They're going to be fine. So, like the only way Nebraska loses this game is if they S a brick.
Something terrible has happened.
Yeah, something terrible. Like that's the only way they lose this game. If something that you just didn't foresee happening ends up happening. So I don't think that's going to be the case. I think the Huskers are going to be just fine. Alrighty, coming up next, we'll go ahead and we'll break down the other AFC divisional game, the Texans versus the Patriots. Then at 1 o'clock, we'll have Austin Jacobson from Hurrdat Sports on to talk about some high school sports that are going around the Metro and Nebraska in general. And then we will go ahead and talk about the Rams, Bears, and then do what to watch for on top of going ahead and giving you a dog of the day. All righty.
Show's over.
Show is basically over. You listen to Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Lowe's knows how to turn big plans into real results. Whether it's new appliances or a home refresh, get started with 12-month special financing on purchases of $299 or more with a MyLowe's Rewards credit card, January 15th through the 30th. So you can invest in your upgrade now and pay over time. Lowe's, we help, you save. Offer subject to credit approval and cannot be combined. Minimum monthly payment required. See store or Lowe's.com for details.
Now back to Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Big game / matches happening for a bunch of different teams across the schools here in Nebraska. The Husker wrestling team, number 6 in the country, 8-3 this season, 1-0 in Big Ten duels. I guess go on the road to take on number 7 Minnesota tonight. Minnesota, 7th best team in the country, 7-2 dual record. Will we see AJ Ferrari wrestle tonight? We will see. He is in Minnesota. He actually did post a creatine sponsorship on his Instagram, which said, big match tomorrow, Nebraska gang versus Minnesota. We're locked and loaded. Got a bunch of guys on fire continuing that projection. So, and then he was like, I'm bringing with me this creatine product that I'm sponsored by. Good for college athletes and all their sponsorship. Tomorrow, Omaha men's basketball, they're on the road taking on Oral Roberts, and then Omaha hockey also on the road taking on the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. So big weekend of sports for the Mavericks. All righty, big weekend of sports in general. we've had a big week of sports, period. Man, there's been so much news this week. Harbaugh going to the Giants. Well, not official, but probably more than likely going to the Giants. Tomlin stepping down for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It seems like there's just more and more, like the more I read about Tomlin, the more people are saying that this is a retirement and not necessarily a year off. So we'll see. I mean, that's just kind of
it's a Bill Cowher.
That's just kind of what I've seen. Well, actually, Josh Peterson on Sportsmanlike Conduct brought up a great point. Bill Cowher was actually younger than Mike Tomlin.
I looked that up this week
when he stepped down and he retired. So
Cowher was 50, Tomlin's 53.
Yeah,
if I remember right.
So
and I said for years I was, Cowher's coming back. Cowher will take a job. He's just waiting for the right one. Never came.
Yeah, we kind of did that. We don't really have that. Like there was another great point that John Bishop brought up on USC, that we don't really have coaches in the booth anymore. And we have coaches on panel shows, like Rex Ryan's on a panel show, and Jimmy Johnson, obviously. Like we have a lot of panel coaches, but we don't have. Is there anyone in the booth?
It's a lot of quarterbacks
in the
and
NFL?
overrated defensive players.
Okay, not overrated. J.J. Watt is not overrated.
Incredibly
at all.
overrated.
He's not overrated. Stop it. One of the best DNs in his prime of all time. That's a fact.
Didn't win anything.
J.J. Watt, former player. Romo, former player. Aikman. Yeah, we don't really.
Olsen.
Don't really have any, coaches in the booth anymore. I would enjoy if there was a coach in the booth. Like I did enjoy the whole, like when Gruden was in the Monday Night Football booth, there was the whole, when will he come back? It seemed like every time. I remember, this is how long Gruden was in the booth and how dysfunctional the Bears were. There were two different coaching cycles or two different hiring cycles that the Bears went through where people were like, hire Gruden. So we don't really have that. And we'll see. I mean, like I said, this is just what you read on Twitter and what people apparently close to Tomlin say. And I'm using air quotes here. What close to the source says is that it seems like this is more of a career change instead of a career bump in the road, if you will. And then on top of that, we're just talking about coaches, Mike Ekeler, not official either that he's going to USC. We are not reporting that. We are not reporting that Mike Ekeler is going to USC.
Oh, but I know a guy whose mailman told me that his bartender's uncle
somebody
told me that it's done. It's a done deal, man.
Somebody emailed me, and I'm not going to reveal who emailed me and who they were discussing, but they said that somebody that is on the Nebraska coaching staff is selling their house. Like, I'm hearing this guy is selling their house. Is he on the move too? If that was enough for me to reach out to somebody and say, hey, is this person selling their
fire
house
here near this?
Yeah,
smoke?
like, is what's going on? And they're like, I don't know what's going on in his home life, but he's just on vacation now, and no one's expecting him not to be back. So, one of those deals where it's been a very, very crazy week. All right, let's talk about the Houston Texans and the New England Patriots. No build up here. I'm taking the Patriots.
Whoa, same.
This is very simple for me. I don't trust this Houston Texans offense as far as I can throw them. Plain and simple. When I saw from CJ Stroud and, just bad turnovers, couldn't handle the football. I mean, it was ugly. And what is going to be really interesting though is, like, here's how I look at this game. Okay. According to EPA, expected points added per play. It's my favorite projection. The number one EPA defense in the NFL, the Houston Texans. They are dynamite. They are so good. They are so electric. Okay. The number one EPA per play team in the NFL on offense, the New England Patriots. So it's your number one EPA on offense versus your number one EPA on defense. It just boils down to this. Do I trust the Patriots more than I do the Texans to make that game-breaking play? Do I trust the Patriots offense to find a crack in this great Houston Texans defense more than I trust the Houston Texans to find a crack in a very good New England Patriots defense? Yes, I do. I don't think the Houston Texans just have the ability to catch New England on a bad foot as much as I think that New England can catch the Houston Texans on a bad foot. I think that this is going to be a very low scoring game. If you told me to make hey, guess what the score is going to be? It would be like 17-7. 17-13, maybe.
Gross.
Yeah, just a very icky game where, maybe I could see maybe a world where Houston might have a pick six that keeps him in it, right? And it keeps things interesting. Or they have more. This defense is so good that it's hard for me not to think that they're going to get a strip sack or get an interception. And let's be honest here, Drake May did not have a very good game against the Los Angeles Chargers. If we're ranking, I mean, I've seen Drake May play much better games than when he did in his first playoff appearance. But I just don't think this Houston offense has what it takes. And I think Vrabel is going to have their guys ready. And I think this New England Patriots defense, I think this is the year of defenses in the NFL. I mean, there were so many really good defenses. Jacksonville had a great defense. Cleveland had a great defense. Seattle's got a great defense. Houston has a great defense. Denver Broncos have a really good defense. Like, there are a lot of defenses in the NFL this season that are, could win playoff games on their own. Hell, the Houston Texans did that against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I think lost in all of the great defenses, we've kind of ignored the fact that New England's defense is really good. Now, the one advantage that Houston has majorly over New England is Houston can get after the passer. I mean, they got Hunter and they got Will Anderson Jr. and those two on their own, especially against a weaker New England Patriots left side of the offensive line, can disrupt the game. New England's pass rush has been very pedestrian this season, so they don't have those game wreckers on the defensive line as much as Houston does. So that definitely favors the Texans. But it's just I think if we're talking about quarterbacks, right? Pick the quarterback, not the team. I think New England has the team and they have the quarterback. So I will go ahead and take the Pats in this game. No spoiler. I will be betting on this game.
Oh, yeah?
So I will be betting.
The weather not scaring you off on
No
on
totals.
betting
No totals.
Okay.
No totals. No.
Just a winner.
Just go winner.
I respect it.
I'm just going to pick the Pats.
Okay.
I'm going to bet on the Pats. Bet on the Seahawks. And then I'm going to take the over in the Bears game.
Okay, I like that.
Those are my three bets for the weekend. I don't think I'll bet on anything else. I'll tell you this. I will give you a dog.
Any ponies?
No, but I'm pretty sure we do have some Kentucky Derby races coming up here. I haven't checked the Kentucky Derby standings in a while. I have to get on that. So, no ponies. I'll bet on the ponies. Last time I bet on the ponies was about 6 weeks ago. They were running races out in Keeneland, and I sat next to my guy Daryl at Horseshoe.
You got a guy.
I got a guy, yeah, great dude. So Daryl sits in the second row at Horseshoe on Saturdays, and he was betting some aqueduct, and I was like, "What we got?" And so he gave me the race form. He showed me what it liked. I was like, "All right." And then I bet a couple ponies. I bet them with Daryl. I love going to where you can bet the ponies and you see all the old tippers out there, and they all got their reading material. They all got their pens and their pencils, and they're writing things down. They're sweating out bets. It reminds me of my grandfather. They're all drinking Bud Light. Bud Light or Budweiser is always flowing at the horse places that I go to.
I don't know what it is. There's just a charming element to that story.
There is. And also, too, like, I know I'm not going to, and this is so grim, right? But
like Nick Grimm or
no,
scary?
But like kind of dark. But I don't think I'm going to be able to walk into a room like that in 20 years, Like they're
like it won't exist.
Like they're not too many men like me who are 23 who love the ponies, who know, like, I don't know how many 20-year-olds can sit down and read a horse racing guide, because it is a barrier for entry. It's hard to, there's a lot of abbreviations. Okay. And there's a lot to, 11 seconds a furlong, stick with it, not enough people know that.
What's a furlong?
Exactly. It's an eighth of a mile. Now, here's the deal. Like, that's one of those charming things, though, right? Where it's like, I don't know if I can experience this in 20 years because I don't know how many of these men are going to be around because they're all in their 70s and 80s. So I go in there and I take it in. I take a deep breath. I'm like, this is awesome. This is great. I love this. But I don't think I'll be betting ponies this week. My pony that I'm betting is Drake May. That's who I'm betting on. The pony I'm betting on is Josh Allen. Okay? The pony I'm betting on is the incompetence of Dennis Allen and his defense and Puka Nakua's ability to catch the ball and run it down the field. That is what I'm accounting for. So we will talk about that game, not next, but later in the show What is next will be awesome. Austin Jacobson is joining us from Herd at Sports to talk about high school, baby. We're going to have a great time. Me and AJ coming up next year on Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Now, back to Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
This should be interesting.
Why?
Unmute yourself.
I'm unmuted as far as I know.
Okay. Well, it should be interesting. This should be fun.
Okay.
You and I have never been on the air. Oh, first off, let me be a proper host here. You're listening to Middays with Matt here on 1620 The Zone for the first time to talk about high school sports with me and educate, because you have to educate me and then educate the masses on what's going on in high school sports. We bring on a very good friend of mine, one of the best in the business. This is the last time. No, this is the last time. I'm never going to kiss your ass again. Austin Jacobson is here on Middays with Matt. I think anybody who's been following you and following your career and who follows you from being here, filling in with us here at 1620 The Zone, which I want to tell you, everybody loves it when you do it because you're so great at it. They love following you outside of that. Know that you bring some of the best coverage from around the metro when it comes to high school sports. You're awesome at what you do, and we're very thankful that you're here on Middays with Matt to talk about high school sports. That is the last time I'm going to compliment you. It's the last time I'm going to say anything nice about you. But thank you for coming out. We'll see. This is the first time you and I have been on the air together, and there hasn't been some sort of adult supervision.
That is true. This is a good sign for us that the adults have left and the kids' table has been upgraded. So now we're ready to talk about high school sports, which is the best way to do it.
I think I think also too, this has got to be like the youngest combined age of hosts and guests that 1620 The Zone has ever had.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the history, but I'd venture that way. Yeah, probably.
50. Well, I think we're coming up at 51 years total. There are some hosts on this very station that just on their own outbids that. So
the Gen Z hour.
This is the Gen Z. You're going to get 12 minutes on here, buddy. You're not.
That's fine. That's fine. Whatever. That's whatever. Listen, I'll take whatever you can get.
You gotta have a certain pedigree to get 18 minutes here on the show. You're not Brian Christopherson, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I'm no Michael Severe. I'm just a young pal, just here hanging out. All right, Matthew, what do you want to talk about? What's putting your gourd here?
Let's talk about high school basketball. Okay. Let's do this. Let's do a season. What are the big things that have happened up to this point in high school basketball, just as quickly as you can, and then for our listeners at home, some in-state / metro / Lincoln basketball players that we should keep our eye on that are having good starts to their season.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. Obviously, sticking with Class A and the top of Class B. Class A is completely wide open, more open than it's ever been. And for everybody who is worrying about if football was dead in the state and all that other stuff, we don't have that issue this year. Now, the same things that everyone complained about in football are still happening in high school basketball across Class A, but you just don't have the dominant program that's standing out. If you had to guess which 8 teams would make the state tournament as of right now, I think you would get a lot of different answers from a lot of different people. I mean, even earlier this week, Omaha Westview, who was a receiving top 10 vote team by our NEB Preps polls and by our ratings model, upset Lincoln Southeast, which was a top 5 team. And that was a game that I wouldn't have even predicted. I've seen Westview a couple of times this year. But I'll say this. I think that this has been a very good year for kind of sifting out where you feel maybe the top programs, not just like individual or like up-and-coming teams, but I think you get a great idea of, okay, which coaches are not only the most established, but also have the best kind of churn out of program and development in high school. Basketball across the state. I mean, look no further than Creighton Prep. They've played maybe one of the tougher schedules across Class A, and yet here they are still, I believe, 9-4, maybe 10-4 now as we're talking today, and they played right there up to the snuff with some of the top teams across the state. I think the one thing you do have to take away so far is that this is the best chance that a Lincoln Public School district team probably has of winning a state title, not just getting into a championship, not just getting into the state tournament, but winning a Class A state title. It'd be the first time in, I think, over 20 years that would have happened if we get there in March. So a lot of room still to grow, but that's kind of the general consensus so far.
Any players, girls or boys, that you think, man, I didn't anticipate this, they've stuck out to me, or maybe even players that you did think, hey, they're going to be pretty good and they've lived up to that billing?
Well, that's also what makes this year so interesting in Class A, because in 2026 for this year's recruitment class, there are no Division I prospects available, at least by most of the rating models and what we see across. Now, the 2027 class is only filled with one, and that's London Data from Omaha Westside, and he's picked up offers obviously from Creighton, Nebraska, Belmont, and Omaha. So, the big four, as the kids would say.
Sure.
Nonetheless, when you look across, especially on the girls' side, there are some very, very talented teams, but I've been very impressed by some of the smaller classes. Omaha commit Hallie Dolliver out of Malcolm is a bucket. She just claimed her school record for points scored in a career the past weekend at the Nebraska Girls Basketball Showcase. More Dollivers in Pender. They took down Millard North in a C2 over an A matchup last Saturday as well. There is some good talent, but it's kind of the same point I had just made, where there's good individual talent, but it's being lifted up by really good programs all across. Because I would argue one of my favorite players is Papillion La Vista South's Levi. Oh geez, I'm just dropping it. I believe it's Levi Walker. Let me double check that. But he's Levi Webb. I apologize. He is actually a fantastic ball player. He was paired great last year with Bryson Ball at Papio South, but this year just doesn't have a lot of those same horses running with him. Still a fantastic player, and arguably maybe one of the underrated players this year, but because of how the team has adapted around him and he doesn't have the senior-led talent that he had a year ago, that's what's lifting all these other teams up as well. I mean, you can say the same thing with Millard North. Corian Gallatin is an electric shooter. Look at Lincoln North Star, who's got all these great players. Jordan Castor, coach's son out there, really performing well. But yet, none of these players are well above the rest of their team. Everyone is kind of contributing to make some of the best teams in Class A this year.
Let's touch on a little wrestling. I know that you mentioned that to me in the text. What do you got for us there?
I'll be frank and upfront right away. Wrestling is not really my go-to. Of course, I'll dive in when we get to the state wrestling, but a big one this weekend, as it is Metro State Wrestling, and then state duels is coming up here sooner rather than later. Metro Wrestling Championships are going to be phenomenal, especially on the girls' side. So if you're looking for some action and you want to be able to go see what's happening kind of across, especially in Class A, what will be more than likely the state tournament matchups, especially state championship matchups, you probably want to head out to the Metro Championships this weekend. The one I've got my eye on the most is actually Brady Danzy from Millard South. I think he has just been up and down a little bit, but he has had some tremendous matchups throughout the year, especially with some of Creighton Prep's finest at 150. It's going to be very, very fun to see how kind of that works itself out. And Prep's also the top team in terms of just totality in I guess Class A wrestling, but they've had a lot of injuries and a lot of movement in their classes. So we'll wait to see kind of how the Junior Jays match up. But I would trust their talent, and I trust their ability to be able to kind of sift through the rest of Class A, especially when we get to mid-February.
You working this weekend? You going to any games or anything big that you're going to or anything like that?
It's a great question. I am actually heading out to Norris and Blair tonight. It's a top 5 matchup in girls basketball, so I'll be there for a 6 o'clock first tip.
Nice.
And then tomorrow, if anyone is out in Lincoln area or south in Beatrice, the Mudecas Championships that features classes from C2 to D2. It's a blast. They played at the Beatrice City Auditorium. They had 2 buzzer beaters last night, and the number 1 seed in the boys bracket went down in Freeman. So it'll be, I believe, Tri-County and Johnson Brock in C2 in the Division A championship. And then on the boys side, I know Freeman and I think JCC is on the opposite side of that Mudecas title. So that's a really, really fun matchups for Saturday. But just like any weekend, it's a good weekend this week. Next week is a lot of really, really big matchups, because you look at Tuesday in girls basketball, undefeated Kearney will play probably the number 1 team in girls basketball at Lincoln North Star. You've got the Sokol Arena matchups that are going on Friday and Saturday at the campus of Creighton. And then on Monday for MLK Day, it'll be the Abraham Lincoln Invite, where you'll see teams like Millard North taking on, future Nebraska basketball star in Waukee, and Rice will be in town for the Abraham Lincoln Invite as well. I think that game tips off at 3, so it's a little bit awkward, but if you have the day off, it is kind of the place to be on Monday for sure.
Hell yeah.
We do not have the day off.
We do not have the day off. We are working. We are working.
Listen, I also am working, so yeah, I get it.
We're not bragging. That was Josh. All right, we're not
typical
doing
Josh.
So much better because we're working.
Josh is always looking for a day off. It's a habit.
I actually have to tell Josh doesn't know all of my day offs now that we've been paired together. So we're gonna have to don't have a clue. We're gonna have a melding of the minds here to figure out what days I can and cannot take off. Anyway, great job. Appreciate you. Do you have any picks for the NFL? Because I know you. Have-
I actually listen. I'm anti-Broncos, so I'm with you guys. Stibbs is terrible. I don't know him personally, but I can say that because he's a Broncos
you can't
fan.
say that about Stibbs.
Well, Stibbs is a great human being. I appreciate what he's done for local youth girls basketball, but I cannot stand a Broncos fan, so I have to go for the Buffalo Bills. I do like actually, and I think I'm in the minority of this. If you're trusting Sam Darnold, you're mistaken. As a Panther fan, I do believe in that. So I will be riding with the San Francisco 49ers this weekend as well.
Lazy take.
What do you mean?
Lazy.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean?
Because I'm picking the Seattle Seahawks, and I feel like you don't understand that Sam Darnold actually has had a really good season.
He has, but he's also done it with a full oblique. So you know how important those obliques are. I know you've been hitting those crunches, those air crunches.
I'm going to be honest with you. I couldn't even tell you where my oblique is, if we're going to be fully honest with each other. But, I mean, it is a little concerning when a guy says, yeah, I felt a little something. I know oblique injuries are bad. All right. I've seen it ruin careers, especially in baseball. Never good when you're already kind of dicey quarterback in high stakes situations goes, yeah, I kind of felt something in a very important area in my body. But,
keynote to athletes, just don't feel anything. You're better off. You're better off not feeling things.
You know what? You know what they say? Ozzie Gann always said it. You can't pull fat, You cannot pull fat. So maybe you got to have a couple more beers and some more burgers in the dugout. Austin Jacobson from Herd at Sports, the absolute best. Appreciate you. I will see you, my friend, next Friday, where we will talk about things that happen. Like you said, loaded week next week in basketball. So we'll talk about those results and things to look forward in the weekend. Appreciate you, my friend. We will see you here in 7 days.
Yep, looking forward to it. I'm going to get you out to a game, too. You're coming with me for one of these.
Okay. I'm in.
Why
I'm
hesitancy?
No hesitancy. I'm a little hesitant.
No, there was definitely hesitancy.
I mean, I'm a busy man. This is all we can grab beers
before I go, Josh Hodson, Landon Dean of Bridgeport, 8-man sack leader, 16 sacks last season. He's moving up to 11-man football with Bridgeport moving to C2 this year. You're going to love him as a Reaver if he stays. I mean, got that offer earlier this week. Fantastic.
Well, that's the thing about committing to Iowa Western. They lock you down.
They do.
Is it like a marriage? Is it like what Sark says?
Which, to be clear, pretty sure it's just an offer. Has not committed yet, but it is his highest offer so far. That dude is game wrecker. So
there's no better offer. You get a game wrecker with Aaron Terry's coaching style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Aaron Terry did get an interview that was reported today in Tunnel Talk on 3. He got an interview with Nebraska football. Austin Jacobson with the bonus coverage. Look at that. We'll talk about you. Honestly, too, you control the interview, my friend. You just tell me what you want to talk about. And I do want to say this. Look, credit to me. I was taking notes.
Bang.
I was taking notes.
That's what I like.
Look at that.
The pen and paper boy.
I am a pen and paper boy. We got to get more of these things. Yellowback paper pads. They're cheap. They're not cheap these days. All right. So
they're upstairs in a cabinet.
You got to match. All right, we're ending the interview there.
All right, thank you, Matt.
The absolute best. We'll talk to you soon, my friend. All right.
Get a haircut.
Main event of this show is coming up.
The main event?
I get to talk about my Bears. Coming up next here on Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Now, back to Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Middays with Matt here on 1620 The Zone. Don't forget 42951-1620 The Zone if you want to get in on the action. Talk to us about what you think might happen this week in the NFL playoffs. We've kind of given you our thoughts throughout the entirety of the show. So you want to go ahead and email us at the Equitable Bank inbox. Equitable Bank, they take banking personally. Always pick up on the first ring. Old Man Doug, shout out. I was hoping we would get a call from Old Man Doug today because his Creighton Blue Jays are in action on the road against the Providence Friars. Will be a very, very big game for Creighton as they continue to try and build up their resume toward making the NCAA tournament. Husker wrestling is in action tonight against number 7 Minnesota. Husker basketball trying to stay undefeated, 17-0, trying to make an 18-0 when they take on the Northwestern Wildcats. Also for Omaha Mavericks fans out there, big game for the Mavs tomorrow when they take on Oral Roberts in basketball, and big series this weekend for hockey as they go on the road to take on the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. Baseball fans out there, some are rejoicing if you're an LA Dodgers fan as you continue to just, move your money, man, spend your money, do what other teams should do and pay up and get some of the best players in the league as they sign Kyle Tucker to a massive 4-year, $240 million deal to make him the outfielder for the Dodgers. But Bo Bichette over to the Mets. So Steve Cohen responds and says, whatever you can do, I can do slightly worse.
I thought Doug would call in and complain about an adult.
These kids are getting too much money.
Well, I thought he'd complain about Ekeler having no love for the school and chasing the bag everywhere, which is a common take that people have about children, but not adults.
Reportedly, and this was from the On 3, so shout out all those guys over there. They Mike Ekeler has a big bag on the table to be signed by Nebraska. I mean, he's reportedly been offered a pretty massive raise to continue to be the special teams coordinator in Lincoln. It will just come down to, does he have the coaching bug to be on defense? Like, does he want to coach more defense than what he's being offered at Nebraska? We won't really know if that's the case until whatever happens. It'll be interesting to see, though, is that something that is playing a factor in his decision? And on top of that, did Nebraska cause that problem? Because they are the ones that allowed him to coach the linebackers, heading into the bowl season. Did Mike Ekeler kind of get a taste of what it was like coaching defense once again and said, man, I guess that's an itch I didn't know I needed to scratch, but now I want to scratch it. And is that a part of his decision to potentially go to Southern California? We will see. Nothing is official yet, though. Nothing is official. Want to make that very clear. All we've been told and all we've read and all that's been reported is that it's trending for him to be the next special teams coordinator of the USC Trojans.
It's probable. It's likely.
It's probable and likely, but it is not official. So maybe the Huskers can pull a rabbit out of the hat and get Ekeler to stay, which, we will only realize that full impact that he had, if he's gone and when they're playing. But it would be a big domino that would fall that people didn't anticipate would happen. So we will keep track on that throughout the weekend, but it's been something that was a rumor. Then it became a little bit too loud. Then it became serious, and now it's rolling down a hill. We'll see if the Huskers can stop it. Talking about rolling down a hill and having a ton of momentum, let's talk about the Chicago Bears, baby. Hell yeah. We've all been waiting for this. We've all been
define all.
A lot of anticipation for this segment for me to talk about my Bears. Am I nervous? You're damn right I am. This is a massive game. The Bears secondary, the Bears defense is not very good. Okay. The Bears actually have the 4th highest paid defense in the NFL.
Whoa.
Yeah. Not a lot of people know that. It's just, Tyreek Stevenson, took a decline that people didn't really anticipate. And then, we got hurt, and then Deshaun Wright, kind of took over a spot. Jalen Johnson has been very inconsistent, definitely not playing up to his highly paid contract. CJ Gardner-Johnson has the moments where it's like, oh, look at CJ. This looks like the guy that, was a big part of some deep playoff runs with Philadelphia Eagles. And then he looks like a guy of like, oh, that's why he was able to be picked up in the middle of the season. This is a defense that can't get to the rusher or can't get to the passer as much as you would like them to. and one of their best linebackers, TJ Edwards, is out for this game officially. So it's a talented Bears defense, but talent really hasn't mattered all that much this year. They've been hurt a ton. And I think Dennis Allen is really good at making adjustments. We got to give him credit where credit is due. They caused the Packers to punt 4 times in the second half. If it's not for, them taking advantage of some conservative play calling from the Packers, they don't win that game. So, does Dennis Allen get in over his skis a little bit too much? Yeah, he does. And is he too aggressive in man-to-man coverage and puts guys on islands that shouldn't be put on islands? You're damn right. And that's cost the Bears in some aspects. And he can't do that this week against the LA Rams. Puka Nacua is, man, he's awesome. If you had the claim that he's the best wide receiver in the NFL right now, I don't know how much resistance I could put up to that. Because the guys that we would argue about either aren't in the playoffs or didn't have great years. Jamar Chase ain't in the playoffs, and Justin Jefferson had a very uncharacteristic year. It was more to do with his quarterback than to do with his individual play. But Puka has the, rare combination amongst the stats / being a winner. The only guy that can really compete with him in that regard is Jackson Smith and Jigba. And, man, Puka was awesome against the Carolina Panthers. And then, it seems like Devontae Adams is back from that. It's scary to be his age and have that type of hamstring injury. But I still think that one of the most efficient plays in the red zone in the league right now is the Devontae Adams fade. I mean, he's collected so many. I mean, they are better off throwing a fade to Devontae Adams on the 5-yard line than they are handing it off with Blake Corum or Kyron Williams.
They've been waiting for a game like this for him to come back.
So this is a big game. Now, I do want to say Blake Corum, the run game of the LA Rams, very good. Blake Corum has been awesome as kind of that second running back behind Kyron. This Rams defense without Quentin Lake, was 17th in EPA per play to end the year. Quentin Lake is back. Still did not have a really good game. Quentin Lake did, and Carolina almost beat him. Carolina nearly beat them on the road or at home. I feel like we kind of skate over that a little bit. They got pushed to the limit against a team that they were plus 10.5 against, and they were 4-3 to end the year.
They were looking past them.
So, I think that there's a little bit of a similarity between these two games, Bears versus Packers and Bears versus Rams, where you go, the Rams maybe not have had all the results that you want them to have, but they're the better team than the Bears and they're going to win. Green Bay's last game that they won heading into the playoffs was against the Bears 4 weeks ago. They had lost 4 straight games at the end of the season. People were still like, no, they are the better team. The Rams didn't have, they weren't the hottest team in the NFL to end. And yet you still look at the roster and say they should have the advantage and score a ton of points. I think the weather's a little overblown. I think it's a little overblown of how the weather's going to affect the games. Matt Stafford has played 6 games in his career where the temperature was under 32 degrees. He's 3-3 in those games. He's thrown for over 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions in those contests. The guy played in the NFC North for a decade. The dude has played in cold weather before. Damn it, he's been in Lambeau. Okay, he'll be fine. Now, kickoff temp will be at 20 degrees. Feels like we'll be at 6. So you're not in the frozen tundra of Minnesota, but still going to be pretty cold.
But it's pretty chilly.
I love the Bears fans who are like, Matt Stafford had a bad back heading into the season, and it's going to be cold. You know what happens with I'm an old man with a bad back? I'll tell you, when it's cold out, my back locks up. So I guess we're counting on Matt Stafford to have some sort of hernia or slipped disc during this game for the Bears to be victorious. I just think they have to play consistent football and get the run game back on track. The Bears run game was awesome for a good 7-week stretch. It's taken a step back a little bit. They have not, and Khalil Guy has not been able to find the stride he was toward the end of the year in the last couple games of the season. But this is a Rams defense that is not terrible, but they're not at the top of their game. This isn't a defense that is look, when we're talking about a year of defenses, this is not one of the more elite ones. And so they can get got. I'm going to take the over. I think that this game won't be on the level. If this game was played in San Francisco or Los Angeles, it could be on the level of 42-38. I still think it's going to be a 35-31 type game, even in these conditions, with how windy it can be. The over/under 24 is 48.5. I think they're gonna blow right by it. I think that these two teams are gonna score on each other. If the Bears can play consistent football, they'll win. Problem is that they haven't really done that this year. So, who are you going to take, Josh Hodson?
I'm going to say that, Matt, I love you, but I'm sorry. Your dream ends here because the Rams have been here before. Experience matters in situations just like this, and that's when I feel like Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson will have no answer and be eliminated from the National Football League playoffs by the Los Angeles Rams. And you will have an awkward crossover with John Bishop on Monday. Maybe it'll get hostile. Who knows?
Well, it'll get hostile if John rubs it in.
Oh, he will.
Do
you think it won't come up?
It'll be hostile if the Bears win because I'm going to rub it in.
Oh, okay.
Bears are going to win this game. The Bears are the team of destiny. The Bears are what the Washington Commanders were last year. This is a game where you think, hey, there's no way they can keep this run going. This is a really good team that they're playing against. Don't matter. The Bears are the team of destiny. The Bears are going to win this game. It's not going to make a whole lot of sense. And then they'll go on the road and they'll play Seattle, and then they'll get blown out. And when they get blown out by Seattle at home, everyone will be like, I told you so. I told you they were frauds. I told you that they weren't that good. I told you that they weren't legit, even though they are going to end up being one of the last 4 teams in the league. And I will make all my arguments and whatnot, but I'll say this. I just think that they got something. They just have a culture. They have a belief. They have a fight. They don't give up. It does not matter what the score is. All they want to do is win football games. I guarantee you, all Ben Johnson is thinking about with all the rumors of Matt LaFleur talking to Sean McVay and people within Matt LaFleur's circle hating Ben Johnson. You thought that the Matt LaFleur handshake was quick. This one's going to be quicker. Okay. This guy is becoming unlikable amongst coaches in the league. And you know what? It doesn't really matter if you win football games. His team loves him. He loves his team. This is a team that they've pulled rabbits out of the hat all season long. I expect them to do it again. So I will take the Chicago Bears. Well, let's make it 31-28. Bears win. We'll call it a Cairo Santos game-winning field goal.
Hello.
I'll probably have to hook around the wind. So feels like
That'd be great. I'd be happy. I'd be thrilled if it was.
Dude, if
just
that happened.
I just want a good close game.
All right, that's been a good show here today with Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone. We're not done yet. We're going to give you what to watch for and our dog of the weekend here on 1620 The Zone.
Now back to Middays with Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Middays with Matt here on 1620 The Zone. We are coming to the end of the show and the end of the week. It's going to be a good one. There is a lot to keep track of. Husker wrestling tonight, Husker basketball on Saturday, Creighton basketball tonight.
Well, don't steal the what to watch.
I know. There's a lot to pay attention to. I cannot wait for this what to watch for. Josh Hodson, what are we watching, you son of a gun?
Well, we got the NFL Divisional Playoffs. We got Bills Broncos 3:30 tomorrow on CBS. Watch Tony Romo struggle in the altitude. Seahawks Niners, your night game on Fox tomorrow night. Texans Patriots 2:00 Sunday on ESPN and ABC. And then Sunday night football comes to you a little earlier than normal on NBC. Rams Bears 5:30. There you can hear all four of those games right here on 1620 The Zone. Men's basketball, Creighton at Providence tonight. USC ends a little early today, 5 o'clock. That's when John Bishop will take you inside the artist formerly known as the Dunk for a 5:30 tip between Creighton and Providence. You can watch it on FS1, but we prefer to listen to it on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg. SEC basketball, 1 o'clock tomorrow on ESPN, number 19 Florida at number 10 Vanderbilt. Do I need to start taking Vanderbilt seriously?
Maybe. What do you mean start? They're very good at basketball.
Well, they're also, quote unquote, very good at football. I just want to know if this is a similar thing where it's clearly, I'm not going to waste my time in something that's clearly fool's gold, but if they're real, I'll watch it.
They're real.
Oh, okay.
They're very real.
Nebraska, number 8 in the country, not fool's gold, taking on Northwestern, 3:00 tomorrow on BTN. Number 17, Arkansas at number 21, Georgia. Did you know Georgia's ranked? 3:00 tomorrow on ESPN2.
Well, they actually got upset by Ole Miss the other day.
Well, they won't be ranked for long.
There you go.
And 7:00 tomorrow night on ESPN. It's number 11, BYU at number 15, Texas Tech. Women's basketball this weekend, Creighton at Providence, noon tomorrow on ESPN Plus, or you can listen to it on Yacht Rock 1180. 3:00 Sunday on NBC. It's number 12, Maryland at number 3, UCLA. And Sunday night, 7:00 on BTN, number 15, Michigan State at number 11, Iowa. NBA, Cavs and Sixers tonight on ESPN, followed by Wolves, Rockets. And then Sunday morning, 11 a.m. on Prime from London, it's Magic and Grizzlies.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
They were in Berlin yesterday.
All right.
And so now on their way back, they'll play another one in London. Volleyball, the Supernovas host the Vibe tonight at 7 on YouTube, or it's at the CHI Center if you just want to mosey on down there. They'll be at home again Sunday, 3:00 against the Orlando Valkyries on CBS Sports Network. And Love Nebraska hosts Atlanta, 5:00 Sunday on ESPN Plus. New movie to watch this weekend, The Rip on Netflix. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon co-star as Miami cops whose discovery of millions in cash fractures trust within their unit and draws dangerous outside attention.
They were doing press for that movie.
Yes,
I saw, and
a
it's
lot of
very
it.
funny. They're very good together, man. I know they're childhood best friends and everything like that. But that's a classic. They're a classic Hollywood actor duo, and it's kind of nice that they both seem like they're legit friends. I might watch that movie because Matt Damon's my favorite actor. Fun fact.
Okay,
love Matt Damon.
What's your favorite Matt Damon movie
The
that
Martian.
you have actually seen?
The Martian. The Martian's my favorite Matt Damon movie.
That would make your mother and I very happy.
Great movie.
Amy's favorite movie is The Martian.
I love Interstellar. He was awesome in that, even though
he was. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, he's an ass, but he was awesome in that movie. Good Will Hunting, obviously, absolutely.
It's not your
incredible.
fault.
No, it's not your fault. Everybody always tells me that it's not my fault. So a lot of great Matt Damon movies. All righty. Dog of the weekend, I guess. Okay. So we're gonna have a ruling. Because it's plus money, but it's plus 100. Does that count?
Ooh, it doesn't feel like. It feels like that's not within the spirit of the game.
But they're a dog. They are an underdog. They are being They're giving up 1.5. They're a 1.5 underdog.
Okay.
They're not supposed to win.
They're a 1.5 underdog.
Right?
Okay.
If everything went the way that it was supposed to happen, they would not win.
Word it
right?
that way, and I'll allow it.
Okay, so Buffalo Bills plus 100.
Hello.
That is, I think, a banger bet.
Dog of the weekend, the Buffalo Bills.
I'm very
ahead
confident.
of unsportsmanlike conduct
Oh,
hosted
yeah,
by
shoot.
Broncos fan Michael Stubbs.
Yeah, dog of the weekend for sure. Buffalo Bill plus 100. I'm incredibly confident in that bet. I'm telling you, bet with your head or bet with your heart.
This
okay?
is hey, I picked the Bills too. I'm just saying, if you like confrontational radio, the crossover is for you.
I don't think it's going to be that confrontational because I've admitted it doesn't make a ton of sense. Like the Denver Broncos have so many different matchup advantages. And yet, I just don't think they're going to win. I think Josh Allen is just that good.
Lots of teams get the number one seed and then don't ever win a playoff game.
Yeah. And I just I can't tell you for sure the product that is going to come out of the field for Bo Nix. I don't. Bo overthrows are a thing, baby.
I saw the Jags go into Denver and win, and the Bills beat the Jags.
It'd be really incredible, too, if the Bills went on this kind of Super Bowl run and they did it without ever playing at Highmark because they've been on these runs and have played home games, and still it hasn't mattered. So we shall see. Dog of the weekend, though, Buffalo Bills plus 100. What to watch for from Josh Odson. Thank you so much. This has been the first week of Middays with Matt. What a week it's
One
been.
week in the books, only 9 years and 51 weeks to go, man.
What do they say? 150,000 words a week or something like that? Or what was the number from Connor Happer that I just spewed out to you? 15,000 words or 25,000 words? Connor Happer has some saying. I got to ask about that. It's been a lot of words spewed from my mouth. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to the first week of Middays with Matt. Only going to get better. Only going to be more fun. Only more bits to be had. So thank you so much for having fun this week. Hope you have fun this weekend. We will have fun this weekend, and we'll talk to you on Monday. That's been Middays with Matt. The crossover with Unsportsmanlike Conduct is up next.